Says we're live. Hey everyone, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. If we are live, please let me know if the audio is good if you jump in here. And if you guys don't mind, as you filter in, hit the thumbs up, become a subscriber. Also, don't forget, you can always comment. I have been getting a lot of the comments. I've been keeping up on them. So I really appreciate the comments. Comment below. Don't be afraid. You can just jump in randomly as we're going through this live stream. I basically do it for you guys. You know what I mean? I'm here. If you got questions, business, personal, trucks, tools, equipment, scissor lifts, trailers, tires, whatever, I'm here for you guys. Also, I apologize if anybody's seen, I had another post saying that it was going to be at 6. I set it up wrong. It was totally my fault. So here we are. I'm starting a little early just to kind of get the ball rolling. So Patrick reached out to me. Appreciate the email, Patrick. And we're going to I try to get to the stuff kind of up front and then we kind of slur it out towards the end. So you don't have to if you don't want to be a part of it, but there might be some good stuff. I try to give some intel on stuff in the business and all that good stuff. So he says, I'm looking to get in the garage door companies in the UP. Now, if anybody, I don't think anybody caught it, but yesterday I tried on Tuesdays, I typically try to do my live. I got tied up with one of the kiddos, which is fine. It's great, right? Family first. You got to take care of those kids. They grow up fast. Tried doing it. You guys let me know. Comment below. This is just my opinion. 5G is a real stinker. It is not working worth a hoot. The 5G, at least around here. 4G worked 100 times better than 5G. I can do live streams from that, but anytime I see 5G, it's real slow. It's lagging. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why. I think it was just maybe to watch us. That's about it. So he's in the UP. So the way it works here in Michigan is he's a Uper. We're considered a troll. I know. It seems kind of weird. It's kind of funny how it works that way. But anyways, he saw my content on YouTube. He went through the back door, which I don't know how this always happens. I don't even know if the secretary knows, but I always get this big thing at the top right here that says, do not reply to me. Love you, Miss B. That's awesome. This message is forwarded to you. And it still kind of makes me laugh because she does that because I got caught one time. I sent the customer our cost on a door. I believe that's how it kind of started. And so I got in trouble. So it's always real attention. Do not do this. But anyways, like I said, you can always comment in the videos. I always see those currently. And then also the email at the Daveadubson@gmail.com. If you got business ideas or you're starting up or you got any questions, like I said, hit me up in the email. So he seen me through YouTube. He wanted to reach out. He was asking about in the state of Michigan, and I would like to hear maybe for you guys too. He's asking, do you have to be, licensed? And I think what he's kind of asking is your builder's license, or do you have to have certain license and registration and all that? And so I thought, well, you know what? If I can help one person, that makes it all worth my while. So basically, in Michigan, the long story short is no, far as I know. Like I said, I'm just a random dude on YouTube. Don't take my advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a professional. I'm just giving you from what I've heard through the grapevines. Now, have I gone through the building course? Yes. It can make your insurance. It can make things cheaper at least it does for me. But I wanted to kind of go in there, the depths of some of this. And I don't know exactly where we're going to go with it. So we'll kind of see how it goes. I was talking to my nephew. I see you, Mr. there, Justin. Hello to you. It's good to see you. And I was thinking about this. My nephew, he ended up he called me up. He had some questions. Super good kid. And he was making me think about this. And I told him in the business, right? So if you guys are just starting out, you really should consider and this is just my opinion. And like I said, everybody's layers are different. You know, it's kind of like I feel like this is like if you're a girl or a guy, and that's like me asking, it's like saying like, you should date this or you should date that or you should like this or not like you know what I mean? I don't know. Everybody's layers are different. So, anyways, um, but what I was telling them in the business, I said, if you're starting out kind of, in a nutshell, I said I would typically try to do a generic name. Now, what do you mean, Dave? What do you? The reason I say that is because if you're kind of starting out, you might not know. So I remember very specifically when I was sitting in front of the attorney and I was setting up my business. Um, and I remember we at the last minute we added the gates. You know what I mean? And it was like, do we not? And then it's like we've gone down the road of like, do we ever have to change the business name because now we also maybe do fencing or the economy went to poops, you know what I mean? And we have to stir that up or so, you know what I mean? And it's like I think this is just my opinion. I think sometimes we can put too much focus in the name in a nutshell, right? Like we think that's going to be our savior, right? If I name this, if I make this business name just so everybody's going to come running to me. As long as I've been doing business, the only thing I've ever gotten grief on, which I would do differently, and the only reason I did it, right, is I started out the business with I did it with an A originally because we used to have to we when I started out, we had a phone book. And obviously, an A got you to the top of the list. That's the reason why I started out with that. Everybody there was like A plus, there's A1, there's something, I mean, there was all kinds of different names. So I did the A. Nowadays, yeah, you gotta pretty much have Google reviews and stuff like that. It's not that big a deal. But there's a guy that runs around. I think it's JFK, I think is what it's called. I think it's JFK Enterprise. And he's a great dude. I've talked to him. He's a great dude. He's very successful. He does a lot of out in our rural area. He does a lot of farms. I know he stacks a lot of doors in the dirt. A lot of doors. I mean, we're talking big doors. Like minimum for him is like 18 wide by like 20. Some of these are like 20 by whatever 18. They're huge doors. They're just for huge dairy farmers and everything. Super hard work. I mean, he's a hard worker. But I like that name because it could go differently, right? Like you could abroad that. You know what I'm saying? Like he could be doing gate operators, he could be doing fencing, he could be selling cars for all I know. You know what I'm saying? So that name kind of broadens it a little bit. So I kind of like that. Mr. Justin, he says, I know in California you do. It's California, man. California is like, ah, or they limit you to 500 sales. Yeah, I can't remember if Michigan is like 600 is what we were over here. So anywho, I'm thinking about this, and I was telling them. So if you're starting out, because I know remember when I was starting business, I was gonna do car detailing at one time. I had a roofing business. I so like I think about all this and it's like instead of focusing, right? Because it takes so much energy to get the customers, right? And I know it sounds kind of silly and cliche, but the customers they really just want their crap fixed. They want it done for a cheap price and they want it done reasonably, right? That's just I mean, that's why I always say we are kind of in the garage door business. You're a fireman, and I think of a tow truck driver. That's just what you are. You know what I mean? Because your truck needs to be ready at a moment's notice, right? You got to have the springs, you got to have the lube, you got to have the nuts and bolts, you got to have the strut, you got to have the torsion spring, you got to have this, you got to have power tools. All the batteries need to be charged. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, then you turn into the tow truck driver because now it's my garage door spring broke. How fast can you get here? How fast you want my $200, Sonny? Come on. Come on. You know what I mean? And then it's like, what? You said 220? Oh, hell no. The other guy said he'd do it for 200. Yeah, he's going to be 10 minutes behind you. But so I just think sometimes we can put too much effort in some of this stuff. A lot of people don't know, that are unaware, that you being born in America with a social security number, you're already a business. What? Only thing you're doing with a business is called the DBA. You're doing business as. You're doing business as a different, you're using it as a different name, which by the way, excuse me, this year they're cracking down. They want to know. So if you started a business, I believe you've already been in a business the past year of 2023. Don't quote me on this. I think you get a year to the end or something like that. You get a year pass, you know what I mean? But this year, like if you're starting a business this year, or it was like 2 months ago in the past, like last year, November or something, you need to notify the government. I don't know exactly how, but I know that people that are smarter and better than me do that. But you need to let them know what your business and what you're doing, because they want to know that, right? Now they want you to document it. It's kind of like a lot of people don't realize, like, I don't know, maybe some of you have heard it, maybe you haven't. It's like when you sign for citizen, that's like enslavement. Like you are complying with, the establishment. You are part of the, like you work for the kings and queens. So you as a human right now, you're already a business. So if you wanted, you could just start rolling out how it is. You know what I mean? And that's I'm not trying to put out there, promote like, hey, break the law. That's not what it is. But what I'm saying is sometimes I did it personally. You focus so much, right? And this is something that you might not even want to do, right? It's a totally different animal. Even if you've done it, right? You've been doing it and you're like, oh, I mean, I see the business owner makes all this money, and just when you get on the other side, you've really conditioned sometimes yourself. Sometimes, like I said, everybody's shoes are different. You've conditioned yourself to be just a harder worker. You know what I mean? And yes, there is some freedom, there's some beauty to it, but it's just the path. You know what I mean? You better be hungry, and you better be willing, and better be trying really hard, because it'll eat you up. Another thing, right? I didn't realize this when I started my business. I learned the hard way. And I remember what happened was I ended up I started, it's weird how they know this stuff, right? They find this stuff out. But they ended up I started running the business out of my home, and I realized that luckily for me, I was already in a commercial area with my home. My home was really hard to finance, because they basically had to have the township. Basically, if it would burn down, I could rebuild it. That's what the bank wanted to be secured of, or whatever. But anyways, I remember I got this letter from the township, and they said, "Hmm, hmm, we realize that we've noticed that somehow, I don't even know how, right? That you're running a business out of your home." Oh, okay. And well, I had to become, certified through them in a sense, not really certified. Basically, it came down to money. I had to pay, right? And I get a little certificate, right? But some people don't realize, right? Some of those townships, right? Depending on what you're doing, a lot of this stuff is starting to speed up a little bit, right? They'll start cracking down, and like you might have to be inspected. Now your home is not a home, it's considered it's a business. So now it needs to be treated like a business. Like, oh, do you got fire extinguishers? We got to check those out once a year, and you can't inspect them. No, you have to pay somebody to inspect them. So there's these things that start. So that's why, like, sometimes I look at it and I go, yeah, kind of just starting out, and maybe you just want to kind of keep it as the name. You want to do a 1099. Um, you might want to just stay low a little bit. in Like I've said before, people don't realize, like, I was just reading something from Robert Kiyosaki, And it was saying basically how people don't, want to put in, the effort, right? They don't want to put in, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. Um, you know, and they don't understand how business works. It takes a very long time. And so that's why, like, first of all, I look at it and I go, you might want to set it up with a very, like, something generic where it's enterprise, it's ABC 1, 2, 3. I don't know. You know what I mean? What would work? I don't recommend, like, in business, you set business names up in your own name, because it's just hard. If ever something down the road, you passed away, unfortunately, they need to sell it, whatever, right? Another guy takes it over. It's hard to change all that stuff. It's hard once that stuff gets all ingrained into it. Um, let's see here. I wrote some notes. I think I already told you guys that part about the. Oh no, I didn't tell you. I don't think. One thing I've gotten criticized on affordable door and gate, right? And it was funny. I learned this from a fence guy. His business was affordable fence, and Mr. Al doesn't do it anymore. He was a good dude, heck of a salesman, but he was the guy I learned from when I used to ride around with him in the truck and stuff like that. And he would sit there and he just, oh, we got so much work. We got so much. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, you're gonna run yourself ragged. You got so much work, but are you profitable? Are you sleeping? Are you, like, taking care of your health? Like, you're gonna die. Like, I mean, and that was my tipping point where I told myself, I'm not gonna be busy. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be profitable. And that's where I really had to start thinking for myself. And school of hard knocks. You know what I mean? When you start looking at your balance sheet, especially at the end of the year, and you're like, I've done over $1 million in sales. And it's like, then you're left with, like, you're looking, you're going, I got left with, like, whatever, 16,000, 30,000. And you're going, where'd all the money go? So anywho, the one joke was with him, right? As I told him, I said, you ever get these people? They just always are, they want a discount, whatever. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I tell them all the time. This is what I tell them. He goes, we're not cheap. We're affordable. Oh man, that was good. I loved it. So that was always kind of the gimmick, right? When I always seen him and stuff, our little joke, we're not cheap, we're affordable, because that was always the things people would always, man, because what I kind of learned down the road was the pitfall of the name a little bit with being affordable is people associate that with cheap. It's kind of like being, there's one around somewhere around that's discount. Discount. What kind of discount is that? You know what I mean? So you might want to set it up to be more of a generic name of some sort versus, I don't know if you want to put, like, expensive garage door, but you know what I'm saying? Something of that nature. So anyways, like I said, you set this business up. People are coming in, now you're opening the gates to the government in a sense, because now, like I said, eventually they will probably catch on that you're running a business. Um, because you changed his name. And I think what it is there's something through the mail system is the way I think how it works. And it gets triggered because I didn't have, like, any trucks. My neighbors didn't have any problems with me. It wasn't like somebody, but it was like, it seemed like because now we're getting letters in the mail, something got triggered in there, and then it got sent to the township. And then the township finally, said, hey, you need to pay us our, whatever it was. I think it was 20 or $50 to get a little certificate saying that we could do business. But some of that stuff gets kind of gnarly, right? The one township where the shop is at, excuse me, that township is really stingy. Like, I know an automotive guy that place was an automotive sales place. And that guy, like, they wouldn't let him have his license. And so that's why sometimes I always think about, like, if you're going to do a location and stuff like that, you might want to consider leasing instead of buying, because once you buy, you commit, you sign the contract, you already set up the mortgage. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is how much this stuff takes is time. I mean, it takes so much time. It takes months to years to make this stuff, to get the count set up, to sit down and have lunch with the sales rep, to do this, to do that. It's a lot of time. And then you still have to go out and chase the customers, right? And then one thing that's not talked about a lot, as I seen this with my buddy, he, how do I say this without giving too much away? He worked for a big, he worked for a big roofing company. He was a truck driver. He was a driver, right? He delivered the shingles and stuff like that to on the roof. And I remember he was so excited, which is nothing wrong, right? He's so excited because he's gonna start doing sales. And he's just like, I mean, we're sitting at lunch, and I've already been through this kind of game, you know what I mean? And he's sitting there and he's telling me how much, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make so much more money. I'm gonna make he's making percentages, right? But there's a caveat, right? Just like within the garage door business, there's something that you got to remember that is kind of what will plague you is you can only do so much. What do you mean? You can only do so much. You you know what I'm saying? Like you only have so much time during a day. And well, you can hire employees, right? Are they trained? Are they certified? Are they going to do a good job? But the problem is you'll have callbacks, right? It happens to the best of us. I mean, even when I've been out in the field, it's like I sit there and I go, how is that a problem? You know what I mean? Like I said, I remember the old guy one time, you know, too far away driving, right, for an opener. And I get up on the ladder, and I remember the guy goes, yeah, I was trying to get that to program to my car, and I'm sitting there like, excuse me? I just installed this last week and the limits are all off. It was on a Genie. And I'm thinking, you were up here screwing around? Like, how's this? Like, and it's just not a real, it's not, you don't get rich real quick. You know what I mean? It's a very slow process. So, but, let's see here. Oh, I wanted to let you know too, I'm styling the Liftmaster shirt. I'm not a hater. Let's see. So where else could we go with this? You're starting a business, huh? Starting a business. Everybody's got to they got to make money somehow. There's nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? You got to put food on the table. Are you guys seasoned vets? Anybody out there a seasoned vet? Or how many years you've been doing it? It's only a couple. I said it must be on something. Must be something tonight. What's on tonight? Is it Dancing with the Stars? I don't know if that's still on. Football game? What's going on tonight? So, to give you a little inside, I remember, and if don't mind, hit the like button. That just helps push more people, algorithm, all that good stuff. I'd appreciate it. So one thing I noticed in the business, right, is that so you can only do so much. And this is why 8 years, holy cow, Mr. Justin, good for you. So the thing is you got to remember what I'm thinking is, so long term, think about long term. I would like to hear I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on this because I feel like I'm a little bit crazy. I've gone into like all kinds of different businesses, right? And I mean working there, right? I've worked at the oil changes, I've worked at the car washes, I've worked for small business, I've worked for big business. I've been on the lake, right, to the $1 million houses. I've been to the rich, I've been to the poor. And there's been this kind of overall thing I've noticed, this theme. And a lot of these people, some of these people run businesses, right? They're successful, some are not so successful, some are getting out, some are getting in. And I think about this and I think to myself how the problem I see in the industry, right, a little bit. Anybody watch Rangstar? Is it Wrangler Star? My wife always tells me I pronounce it wrong. The guy's got black hair, he's always doing stuff. I'm watching him earlier today or something, right? He's doing maintenance on a skidster. And I'm so happy he brought this up. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring this up on my channel. And he was talking about how the service, right? The service has just really gone to crap. And these are things that we can't, I can't control. You can't control, right? You can't control who's behind the desk or who this company hired. And it's not that it might get better, let's just say, right? But anyways, the service guy gave him the wrong filter, right? And he's really like, and I know how that feels, right? And I feel like there's just so many things. I went and got a sandwich the other day, and it's like I told the guy exactly right, and the guy just acted totally numb. I tried talking to him real loud and clear and explained to him that I wanted half. I wanted to put it in a go bag type thing, but I only want to eat half here, and I'm gonna probably take but I mean the guy just I asked him, what do you think about the weather? I mean, he was just so like, I mean, just not there. And it was very disappointing. And so it's just everywhere. These people are, it's just not looking good. So what my point is I'm trying to like, how do you get into something that's going to be more manageable a little bit, right? Because like for me, right? In the business, I've been very blessed. I got some wonderful people, but they didn't come easy. They didn't come easy. A lot of filtering, a lot of working, a lot of it's super hard once you've been out there. And so I went to this one lady one time. I think she was up in the country a little bit. One of those jobs I was doing too far away. And she really intrigued me. And maybe you'll see where I'm kind of going with this. But what was great about it is she was in her late 80s, early 90s. And I remember how this really hit me. And I want to express it because I think maybe somebody needs to hear it. And you need to think about this, especially when you're getting age, especially like me. Over the hill, 40. And I remember she she shows me the back, right? Her slider, and she's telling me, she goes, "Yeah," she goes, "You see all those houses?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "My husband built all those." Really? That's pretty interesting. And she didn't own them, all of them, but she owns some of them still, and she rents them. I thought, wow. And then there was a house right across the street that when we were talking, I was interested in it. She was getting it recited though. And I was talking to her about stuff, and I thought, wow, you know what I mean? Her husband has passed away, unfortunately. And this lady is still managing a portfolio. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is impressive. But what the thing is, like, I've learned too, right? With the rentals and stuff, is that I don't understand what it is. And I wish there was somebody that had an email or a video that I could see, because there's something that's magical about it. Because you can either do the work or you can subcontract the work out. And then it's like you can hold the people hostage, right? In a sense, like they do to us, right? Because I've been there, right? Like when you go out to do that broken spring, right? Are you know, probably not, right? You're not like collecting a full payment. Well, I already looked at the picture and I deemed that you're going to be around $300 to $500. I'm charging you $500. Yes, and if it seems cheaper, doesn't I'll reimburse you. That doesn't normally happen, right? And it's kind of like the tow truck driver, right? I mean, the tow truck driver is the same way, right? They might ask you, they might say, hey, how are you going to pay? Are you going to pay credit card? You can pay it. And I've had some of them say, well, it's probably going to be this much. I'll take your credit card now. It's just easier because the guy is, he don't want to deal with it, which would be me. But anyways, what my point is, it's amazing that you can manage where when we're in the business, it's like you got to put out the fires. I was just listening to that guy I was just talking about, and he says how, you know, most of the time, like you're fixing sometimes even the people that work for you. They're like, and if not even so much the people work for you, but somebody else's inferior work, right? Not the people that work for you, hopefully, right? But sometimes that happens too. But more or less, you're going behind, and you have to, there's not good quality craftsmanship, is what I'm trying to say. A lot out there. What's Mr. Rubin say? I'm currently working on starting a garage business right now. Made a Nextdoor account today. Ooh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Use some social media, use some free. I'm using your videos as a guide. Awesome. Any tips? I'm in Los Angeles. Los Angeles. That would be, you know what I used to do? I know you can't really do that anymore. And I know everybody doesn't use it, is the phone book. I used to love going into motels, hotels. We'd go there and that was the first thing I'd go looking for that phone book, right? And I'd start flipping through the pages. I'd find it and I'd see, right? But my guess is, especially if you're in Los Angeles, like I said, you got probably I'm assuming a lot of competition. But on the other end, you probably got a lot of customers, because you're in a very dense area, is my guess. And so, there's something weird about, does anybody ever notice this? What's going on with Facebook? Facebook, ever even since it was created, it feels like, when they had the marketplace, it feels like it's the most, not always. I mean, you get like 1%, right? Like I can tell right away when somebody's messaging me about something, like I'm like, all right, this is all legit for the most part, right? But people just, I mean, they'll message you at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like right there is already a red flag to me. And then it's like I've had people like criticize me about something. Oh, yeah, well, I bet you do this with it or something. And it's like, no, not really. Thanks anyways. Or just a low. I mean, it just seems so dirty and filled with garbage where like, even when I used to use Craigslist wasn't that bad. You did have a few. It was like a 50-50. You know what I mean? But with Facebook, it's like 90% of the time, it's just so much garbage. And I don't understand if it's just that platform that attracts that kind of people, or if it's like robots, or bots that like they generate this and they don't even know what they're saying, to make it feel like your account's doing something where you're like, oh, I'll boost my ad or something. I don't know. What's up, Mr. Hi? It just says hi. 500 sales, California. It's a lot of work, lots of time. That's something I didn't realize. And that's I don't think James, I don't want to say his last name, but James, he reached out to me a long time ago, I believe, when I started the channel. Um, and he's a younger lad. Boy, I don't know. He's probably just started driving, roughly. Might maybe been doing it for a couple years now. And I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he's posting some doors and stuff. And I give him a little commentary here and there. But it's so awesome because I can see the pickup truck is nothing super fancy. And I tell you what, I mean, it's really hard, and I think that's why it's easy to get caught in this trap. I did it, right? With the garage door business and stuff. And I think anything, honestly, with construction, I think it's a game that's played, and I think it's out to get you in a sense, to some degree. And that's why nobody wants to take it slow, right? Everybody wants instant gratification. Everybody wants to use the credit card and I'll pay for it later. That's just the world we live in. It's sad. But once you understand behind the scenes of how much interest you're paying, oh, and by the way, now you got a loan on this. Oh, now you got to pay full coverage, right? But that's good because I got full coverage on it because, that's good in case I do something to my truck or I roll it or whatever. That's all good, right? Well, wait till the day when something does happen and then you got to use it and they don't want to pay out. I mean, I already just seen one here in Michigan, how a company, State Farm, they ended up canceling somebody's insurance. They've been with them for 20 years, no claims. This is for a house. And they said, they wanted us to reapply or something like that. I don't know exactly the details on it. Zero claims. And it was like double the price. And I'm just like, what? I mean, it's happening in Florida. So there's always a chain behind everything. That's what I'm trying to kind of get at, is that it's really tough. Everything you sign up for, right? It's kind of like Angie's List. kind of like home advisor, right? They all seem good. Oh, we're going to give you this. And that sales guy on the phone, he's promising you all these leads and blah, blah, blah. And then you sign up and wham, try to get out of it. You know what I mean? Try to turn it off. Try to, like I said, you better give them a bogus credit card. That's what you need to do. One that you can just turn that puppy off and then they're going to call you and you go, yeah, well, good luck, buddy. I'm not paying you no more because you guys aren't providing the service that you promised. And I want one person, I want one sales guy. I want to know who this, I want a face. You know what I mean? I don't want some random call center that I call. So anyways, I'm getting a little sidetracked there. So anywho, it's just, that's why I want guys to it's funny because like the insurance, especially if you're sticking with residential. Now, obviously, Los Angeles, that's a little different than the old Michiganders or Ohio or Wisconsin. You know what I mean? It's a little different. You know what I mean? We're a little more slow, and you have to probably be a little more cautious. But it's funny because we've never used, knock on wood, we've never had to use like the residential insurance, and for the most part, you can be very lucky. Things could happen, but pull the vehicle out. Right? I mean, right? Don't leave winding bars up on top of the door. Get yourself some hexagon winding bars so they don't roll off in case you do have an emergency where you're in there and there's a car in there. But spring clamp that thing, do whatever you got to do, help the door up with the opener, get that vehicle out of that garage, get them to park it on the road, get it outside. You park on the road if you need to, if you feel like the situation, everything is what I've noticed, like with business and stuff like that. It's a lot of it is it's energy. You know what I mean? Um, it's the feel, right? Because I've had guys in the passenger seat, or they're driving too or whatever, and they're at, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? And I'm like, dude, I don't even have a clue. Like, like I've already thought about this the whole night, and I've already prepared everything. I already got the truck loaded. I was up till like midnight loading stuff, and we should have everything. I went through my list. We're just gonna show up, and I don't know. Like, we're just gonna see because there's gonna be something that's gonna screw me, right? I forgot something. I forgot tape measure. I forgot this something. I forgot the water, the concrete. It's always something. Never fails. Says same here. They put you under a 5. Ooh, contract mentioned. Ooh, man, 5K contract that they never mentioned and send you to collections. Wow. Ruben, is that is that through are you talking like Home Advisor or Angie's List? Dude, that's pretty shady, man. I didn't know they were doing stuff like that. Angie's, wow. Wow. I don't know where Angie advertises. Does anybody know where Angie's advertises anymore? I don't watch television. You know what I mean? I'm just either YouTube or we just watch whatever, something maybe through Netflix or whatever we got. Um, Amazon Prime. But I don't sit. I'm more or less just check things on the phone. I'm a kind of a 15-minute guy, you know what I mean? Where I just watch videos I need to and learn. And otherwise I just try to keep moving. But it's weird. I don't ever see them advertise anymore. Like it used to be, I'm surprised I don't see them through the feeds. I don't see them on Facebook. I don't see them on YouTube. So I'm assuming maybe they're just focusing on television which could be because, you think about it, they nobody can comment there, right? You know what I mean? I mean, people just watch it and they're going, "Oh, yeah, I need my microwave fixed. Oh yeah, I need my roof done. Oh yeah, I'll call them." And they have no clue what they're doing. It's really sad. But no, I mean, so how far so Ruben, like how far are you in this? What do you got? What are you using for a vehicle? Using just a personal vehicle? And don't be shy. Like I said, I mean, was it Jason? I think it's Jason who I talked to. Good dude. And he's styling a Chevy Spark, man. I couldn't believe it when he FaceTimed me and he's like, "Yeah, I got my little Chevy Spark." I mean, he's doing this major like garage doors. I mean, like 12 by 14s. He was doing like, God, there's a lot of them. It was like over 6. I'm like, how you doing that? Like, he's like, yeah, it's a learning, I kind of maybe underbid it just a touch, but he's like, it's a good learning curve. And I just thought, dude, my hat's off to you. Cause, obviously he got them delivered there. He either had the customer. I mean, it's amazing to me that if there's a will, there's a way. That's just amazing to me. I love it. I love it. So I thought, hey, that's awesome that he's doing that. You know what I mean? Cause if you can keep and so let me get back into this a little bit, this trap. At least I've felt this way, right? You're in construction, right? You start what'll happen is you'll start getting this business, right? And next thing you're sitting here and you're like, man, and there is a layer to this, right? And you got to make the judgment call. But all of a sudden you go, man, I need that new truck. I need a newer truck, even if it's not a brand new, because man, this other truck is breaking down, man. This one doesn't look good. And like I said, when it came to like residential, even some of our commercial, I don't think it's never like the big thing always for dang, fire fell over or something. But the big thing is like safety, right? Because if you think about like for commercial, right, those guys have bosses, and those guys that are in charge, the maintenance guy or whoever, right, they got employees that are walking around too, or associates, maybe not employees, but they're the people they work with. And so it's a if they see the garage door guy, you know what I mean, he ain't wearing no safety vest and no hard hat. Why do I? Think about that when it comes up to you. You know what I mean? And now you got to be like, hey man, so safety is always a big thing. You know what I mean? Most time the stuff's all parked in the parking lot. Sometimes it might be pulled up to the job site, but it's as long as you get the job done. You know what I mean? They don't really even care so much. At least around here, it's not. And it's not that you want to drive a beater, you know what I mean? But it's just, you know, so I'm using my personal vehicle right now. Work van got stolen 3 weeks ago. Oh no. When I used, oh, yep, yep, gotcha. Oh my gosh, everything's stolen. Dude, that's why I'm trying to get into something new. Dang, dang. I'll tell you a little story. I remember, and this is why you can get into, like I said, they're not all, obviously, not all employees are bad. They're just not, but there is a bad apple every once in a while. And how do I say this? Like, I don't want to discourage people. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to give people the reality, right? Like I said, I've been doing this since '06. And the thing is so I had this employee, right? And I'll never forget, he started kind of misfiring. He's not showing up. He's not really communicating. And then the guy that was running the business, my business, he sends me, and like I said, this is those things that it's a real bummer. Like, it don't seem like nothing, but it is a real bummer. It's the weekend, right? And most average people, right? Average people out there, right? The weekend, it's beer and let's watch football and let's go on the boat and everything, which is fine. They worked hard during the week. Totally understandable. So it's my time to relax too, right? You think, right? No, no, no. When you become a business owner, no. So I get this message, right? And I remember I'm laying in bed and I get this message and it's like, hey, did you see what we'll call him Mr. S. You see what Mr. S did here? And so, of course, at first you're kind of like, what did he do? Was it something kind of funny? Did I miss it? Did he jump a truck or something? Landed upside down? You know, uh, what the something? What? Garage doors? What? What? And so you get to realize that you're like, oh, a guy for me, it works for me is Moonlight here. I mean, he's, so now it's like, I've had this conversation with many employees, and it turns into like they go, "Well, I'm not." And I go, "Here's the thing." I go, "It's not like you started up a totally different business. It's not like you're selling shoes. It's not like you're selling tires or a lawn service. So I have to keep in mind that you're going to take things from this business. Not to say it's everyone, right? But what's not going to keep you from going, boy, I could really use those winding bars. Those are the nice ones. Oh, boy, I really could use this. Oh, boy, I could use these springs. I could use this lube. It's just one can. It's no big deal." And so that's what I try to teach you guys long term, that it's not like, hey, it's not bad. Like if you're a one man band, it's not. But you start getting people that come into your house, right? And I'm even talking if you have a physical location, a pole barn, whatever. Like my buddy told me once, right? I don't come to your house and steal. Don't come to my house and steal. But that's very hard when the bait is always right there in front of them. Does that make sense? Like I don't know what's in your house. Like everyone on here right now. And I appreciate the two thumbs up. Appreciate that. But I don't know what's in your house. I don't know what you drive, except for Ruben. I know now. Not just joking. But you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what's in your closet. But if you come to my building, right, you're my employee, you're seeing everything. You see the bathroom, you see the toilet, you see what's out in the field and the shop and the trucks. You just see where I'm going with this? So it's hard. It's really tough because so anyways, this guy starts a business. I'm getting off track. Sorry. He's starting a business. And I'm thinking, oh man, this ain't good. Because he's acting real funny. He's doing stuff he shouldn't be doing. And I'm thinking, well, that's good that his truck had to go in for service. And I believe I had another tech drop it off. And I thought, that's good. It's just not at the shop. So I don't even got to worry about this. I don't even got to worry about this until come Monday, right? And that's when I should have to worry about it. You would think, right? But no, no, nope, nope. The weekend is kind of now it's ruined, right? Because I got this little, like, God darn it, I mean, man, this guy, he's, what am I, what am I going to do? I got all this work that's got to get done. So I come in Monday, right? Secretary sitting there. I said, hey, we got a little problem. This and this is going on. And she said, oh, yeah. She goes, well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. She says, because Mr. S came in on Friday. And I'm like, what? Well, what do you mean he came in on? Like, eh, oh, don't you tell me. Don't you tell me that you told him where the truck is. Don't you tell me. And she goes, well, he said he needed something out of the truck, like his bibs or something. So I told him it's right. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't know why. I don't know why this even happened. I don't even know why it happened. But I had such a bad feeling about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you did not. And she's like, yeah, why? And I'm like telling her, and she's like, oh no. And I go down there and I look at the truck. The truck got the transmission fixed, replaced, whatever it was. I think we were just doing preventative maintenance, honestly. And the truck is completely ramsacked. All the power tools, all the springs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And of course, the guy, right? He leaves the phone, right? We had the two ways, speaker phones, whatever, kind of like Nextel there. He leaves that on the seat, the front seat, right? Kind of the, hey, buddy. Because he knows that's got a tracking device, basically. I don't want that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I just cannot believe this is happening. So I end up, I go in, and of course, I go to this guy in the transmission shop. Super cool dude, really nice guy. But this is before pot's illegal, right? Marijuana. And I don't know how this is going to play out, right? So I go in there and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, do you got any cameras? And he's like, oh yeah, I can look them up, blah, 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 right? And I'm thinking, okay, good. And I said, well, here's the thing. I said, I called the police. And of course, this had a caveat to it, right? So I called the one police. And of course, I'm trying to do like the non 911 because I'm kind of, I'm a virgin, let's just say. And so I'm calling 911 and I'm like, and they're like, or not 911, but I'm calling the number for just their office. And they're like, you need to call 911. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I call 911, hi, what's your emergency? There's no emergency, but I had a vehicle. I need to make a report. And of course, the first time they, well, that's not our department because you're just over the county line or whatever. Oh my gosh. So we're not even in the same township. And I mean, it's like literally I could throw a rock into the township. The sign is right there on the road. I'm like, God darn it. So I have to call this, I call again, I get dispatched, whatever, tell them I need this sheriff department, whatever. So they're going to come out. Right. And I'm, it's one of those things, guys. It's one of those things. I'm super swamped, man. I'm super stressed. I'm like, I don't need this in my life. It's hard enough to put, money in the bank, put food on the table. I don't need this in my life right now. And I don't get paid for this. I don't get no extra. I'm not on the clock. I don't get paid hourly. And I just go, oh, no, I don't care if this takes a couple hours. This is sweet. No. I mean, I got jobs I got to get done. So anyways, I go back in, I tell the owner, I said, hey, I said, and I'm thinking like, I don't know if you want to like get some air fresheners or something, but I mean, this place reeks of pot. I mean, reeks. And I'm like, and like I said, at the time, it's not legal in Michigan. So I know you could have a card and all that. But I don't know all the thing is, I don't want to get him in trouble. He's a good dude. He's nice. He's friendly. He's a great dude. But I don't want a cop come rolling in here and be like, smoking a little pot today, Arby? Yeah, go ahead and turn around. And then this dude's calling me, or this guy's at my house, and he's like, thanks, jerk. You got me thrown in jail, got my business closed down. My wife left me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want that to happen. So, anyways, they do their thing, right? The cop comes down, takes a report from me. A couple days go by, right? It's one of the days was payroll day. And I remember the guy has the nerve to call, right? He calls me up. Hey, Mr. S here. Yeah, what's up? Got my tools? Oh, hey, I noticed I didn't get my last paycheck. Really? Huh. Boy, I wonder why. You took probably, I don't know, over $1,200 and your paycheck is $400. Like, yeah, we might want to recoup some of that, don't you think? Well, the thing I didn't realize, this guy knows he's done this with other businesses. I found out afterwards. I hired another guy that used to work with him, and this guy was, I guess he stole the computer to fix a high-low in a factory they're working. So come to find out, this guy is a repetitive theft. He's a thief basically. So I didn't do enough vetting on him. I didn't do enough referrals. I did some. I didn't do enough. Well, he could have gave me some parents or something, whoever, and they were bogus. But that was the worst time I remember right there ever getting a vehicle ransacked, basically, and it was from an employee. That was the worst. And let's just say, needless to say, he burned a lot of other people, and I don't think he's in business anymore because he was writing bad checks. It was not good. Everything stolen. That's why. Yes, Colorado. Yes, right. Mr. Rich. Mr. Rich. It's always good to see you or hear from you. I don't really see you. You can see me, but I can't see you. Yes, it seems wrong to have them do a non-compete, but it's not, because it at least buys the time. My dad told me one time, he said, it's unfortunate because, if you think about it, right, you put all this knowledge into them, right? You teach them, you get them in front of your customers. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And then all of a sudden I'm gonna go out and do it on my own, or I'm leaving. And it's a real, I can get really upset about it because I got some stories on it, but I don't want to, I shouldn't go down that path. And but yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough because at least it kind of keeps things in check a little bit, because You don't want them taking, your customers, and they really have no clue. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, in business, right? If you leave, right, I want us to be like good friends. I want us to be best of friends. You know what I mean? But there's some people that just leave on bad terms, and I try to forewarn them, and they don't listen, and they sit there and and it's really tough because people will come in and boy, hmm, hmm. You almost turn into like a celebrity. I know that sounds weird, but it's like the paparazzi is real. So you'll have people come to your personal house. I mean, it's just you live in this thing nonstop, nonstop, and it's like you're always begging, right? You're begging. Hey, please give me a 5-star review. Oh, you can't pay it today? That's okay. I'll just I'll just bill it to you. Like, just make sure you pay it, okay? And a week goes by and they don't pay. You got to contact them. They already knew they were moving to Texas. They're already gone. And there's a lot of stuff that you put up front, and you just got to play it smart. You know what I mean? You just got to kind of roll with it and go slow. And it's not, like I said, if you're starting out and you're young, I'd say it's a good game to play. You know what I mean? Like, it's not bad, but it's super hard for long term. In a degree, unless you get it spinning. You know what I mean? Um it took a ton of work to get where I'm at, and it still always needs work. You know what I mean? There's always room for improvement. There's always room for more ideas. There's always, better ways to do things. But at what cost? At what cost? How much time, do you still want to spend the 60 or 70 or whatever 80 hours a week playing with it? Because because during the week, that's like the one bad thing I always learned in the business was that you only got a window, like ours was 8 to 5. So I was working another job just to support another worker in a sense, because we weren't making enough money to sustain the lifestyle. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, so it's really tough. Um, and like I said, it all changed for me when workers came. And I remember because there's workman's comp, there's yeah, you gotta do liability and all that stuff. But I mean, it's just the list goes on and on and on. And it's not that they're bad, like I said, it's just you go through a lot to find a good. And it's really tough to find the motivation nowadays with just what society's teaching everybody. Positive attitude is really difficult. And so it's not that it can't be done. It's just once you've been doing it for years, you realize you're like, wow, like and then, now you got the vendors. Um, it's just a little bit. So I don't know if you're still there, Ruben. Like I said, I don't want to discourage it for anybody starting out. My biggest thing is if you're starting out, like I said, I was talking to the nephew, and I just told him, I said, look, I said, you might want to really think, it's not even so much I just don't feel like you need to be where you're killing it for the name. Like, the name is not what's going to save you. It's really answering the phone. It's really keeping that phone on and picking up that phone when it rings after hours. I mean, I went through some hard times, man. I remember, like, that phone was everything. I mean, one ding-a-ling, it was like, "Hello. Hi. Thank you for calling Affordable Door and Gate. How are you?" "Yes. Yes." And I mean, you just had to suck every ounce out of it you could. You know what I mean? And then I started learning that I was like, hey, after hours, I could charge a little bit more. Weekends, I could charge a little bit more. And that made it worth the squeeze. You know what I mean? The pain. But when you're just doing it and you're kind of a one man band, or it's so difficult to get employees to be fired up even, right? And then by the time you try to pay them to come in, when you got to think about it, when you think about, well, what's it going to motivate you? Well, an extra, 50, $100, nowadays, I mean, cause $20 ain't nothing, right? But that'll motivate me to, come in or something like that. Or, I want $200. So it's really tough to get, the employees. So then it's, what are you going to do? Because you took the phone call, right? And there's always something different about when you take the phone call, that you're more motivated to take care of the customer, right? Because you're the one that talked to them and you got to deliver on what you said. You know what I mean? So you got to drop what you're doing. You're at the lake. And this all can be, you can do this stuff differently, right? Like you can just tell them, say, look, explain to them, I'm the only service guy right now. Can you wait an hour? And I can, but there's just all these layers. You got to make sure you double check, right? When an hour comes and you're about ready to, dispatch out, you need to, make sure you contact them, because they might already found somebody else, right? Because they just get so focused on it, and then they might fix it themselves. They might be like, oh, I watched a YouTube video. It's just a photo eyes, so I don't need you now. Or they might have fixed it and you're already traveling out there, and they go, oh, we already got it. You knock on the door and you're like, oh, well, like, well, should I, do I, do I get to charge you? I should be able to charge you, right? I don't think so. If you decide to charge me, I'm going to write a horrible review about you and your service, So, oh, 21. Boy, it'd be good to be 21 again. Heck yeah. Like I said, tear it up, man. I mean, I don't think you're gonna go wrong. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of things, next door, at least a little bit I've done with some businesses. I don't get a lot of feedback. It was weird with next door. I don't know. This is just my opinion. I felt like I got better results out of like doing a personal than I did. I paid for a sponsored one, and I don't know. Hopefully it changed. I don't know, but their online thing absolutely stunk. I mean, it was like the most horrible, glitchy looking weird thing with some kind of, like, I could spend the money, and I spent the money. I got a big. I didn't even get like any like questions about it. Like, I mean, I got nothing, nothing, and I thought, I just do one as a personal, like, hey, I'm doing this stuff, blah, blah, blah. If you need anything, because I don't know, man. When I paid for it, it seemed like it was kind of a bleh. So thoughts on flyers. Well, let's see. What's I think still to this day, which is always kind of I still get people to this day even walking up to me when I'm doing stuff in business and all that. And if I'm doing it through the garage door, like I had a guy, I was on my knees, man. I'm like doing something. I was kind of not, I was polite, but I was not even in the mood. He comes up and he's like, hey, he's like, yeah, yeah, I need a card. And I'm like, can't you see I'm working? Can't you see this van that's fully wrapped? Well, like a big billboard, like, call the office number. Now I didn't say that, or I didn't do that. I just turned around and I said, oh, okay, sure. I said, well, here's the thing. I said, I don't carry business cards on me. I said, but if you want to take a picture of the van, I said, you're more than welcome to. And I regret that, because I don't know if I seemed a little bit on the shady side, because I ended up, what I did was, he, I gave him, I wrote it on something, I think, or I just told it to him. And the problem was, is I could have told him the wrong number, or he just typed in it wrong. But I said, well, I knew the situation, because he was pointing at the buildings across the street, and he goes, the problem is it's a steel building and steel garage doors. And he says, the signal doesn't work when you're on the outside. And I'm like, yep, totally understand. You need extended range, receiver, radio, whatever. And I was like, and he's like, well, whatever it is, I got to get it fixed. Brand new building type thing. Now, I think he might have called the company that installed them. But anyways, I gave him my phone. I said, well, I didn't think, I don't want this guy calling. I don't want him calling the secretary and be like, hey, I talked to one of your guys. And she's like, well, which one of the guys? And what do you, why do you know what we're talking about? You know what I mean? So I just thought it's going to be easier if he just contacts me or texts me, and I'll just get with the secretary. I'll get the numbers. I know what he needs. I see it, and I'll make it happen. And so, not having that business card, I might have lost a sale. because it didn't seem like he was real interested in taking a picture. I don't know why. He seemed about my age. He had a phone in his hand, everything, but he took my phone number. But I was surprised. And I said, hey, I said, you can call me. I said, or text me on that number. And I never got nothing. And I was kind of disappointed. I thought, maybe I gave him the wrong number. Like maybe he typed it in wrong. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think business cards are still important. So you should have some nice, they don't need to be nothing super fancy. Just get a number on there, get your name, get an email on there, blah blah blah. Some basic stuff. So with the flyers, I never had luck with them in Michigan. We had some made, and I used to stick them in people's doors and that. And what I kind of found out is, at least around here, the people that have crummy doors I shouldn't say they want, but they have crummy doors, in a sense, garage doors or whatever it is, because they don't have the money. You know what I mean? It was like never like I went up, and I remember one was a real beat up one. It was a pretty rough area. It was in the country. I don't want to say it was like it wasn't the ghetto. It was just, I remember the guy didn't have siding yet on his building yet, and I was like, hey, I was like, stop there, let's, and I went up there, and he's like, oh yeah. He's like, well, can you give me a price? And it's like, this is the Menards, the Lowe's, the Home Depot special guy here. All right. Yeah, let me call, make a phone call, blah, blah, try to scribble something down. So in this business, if you're in a huge market, flyers, if you're in a huge market, that could be true. That could be true. It just never worked for us. You know what I mean? Like I had them for residential and commercial. Like it was like a pamphlet, kind of like what like Wayne Dalton used to have. They used a little pamphlet that had 99,000 series door, 8,000, and it just never seemed like it gave the punch that it needed to. Like I gave it somebody and they're looking at it and they're just like, wow, like this is. I mean, it gives you some details in that, but it was always like my saving grace for a lot of stuff was get in there, shake the hand, look somebody in the eye, say, hey, I'd like to do this for you. I'd really like to get this job done. For some reason, if my numbers don't look good, would you please let me know if I'm high or I'm low? Just, really, they're not going to show you if you're low, but, you can just say if I'm high, and you just start working on getting feedback. Referrals are obviously always really good. So it can just start, but like I said, the business cards, I still like the signs that you put up on, the street lights or the flags, or what are they called? I can never remember when I'm on the air. Flag poles, whatever you want to call it. They're telephone poles. That's what they're called. Telephone poles, the wooden telephone poles. I still like those kind of signs because I still see them, right? I look at them all the time right there. Oh, there's a guy that does power washing. Wow. I really need my garage power washed. I should call that guy. Obviously, he needs some business. Obviously, he's local because he put it here. It isn't some sponsored ad on Google. So, oh, look at this guy. This guy does boat wrap shrinking. Maybe I need to get my camper, shrink wrapped. You know what I'm saying? So I still like those. And then it's you can put them at whatever, but obviously it depends on your township. And don't be afraid that sometimes just like in Michigan, like different townships, like everyone's different, right? We got one that's real strict. They'll yank them. So what you do is you put them on the weekend on a Friday night and then pick them up Sunday. Or, just got to expect to lose them. I mean, they're going to go. There's just different ways. But once you start, building, I say jump on Facebook too. Like I said, throw some stuff on there. Just put a picture of a garage door, whatever it is, some sections, whatever you got to do. And, start getting people, and you just, like I said, you got to filter out heavily on Facebook though, because you're going to get some riffraff on there. Dun-dun-dun. Cars and word of mouth is the best. Very true. Very true. And it's really weird. I remember when I was starting out, you're so hungry. You're so hungry. And sometimes that can be to your detriment. You know what I mean? Because like for me, what I've always preached, my biggest problem is I was traveling way too far. So, I'd get people like, oh, hey, could you do this one? I mean, it's only like 2 hours away, one way. Oh yeah. Oh, I can do it. I can do it. Hey man, I got it's a big job. It's got 2 doors. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. I was surprised because I was just talking to Cap and he said he goes, I turned down I think it was like a 6 door job. And he said, and these are the little things you learn over time. But he said the builder, right? And I don't blame him. The builder puts out a bid. They might get it, they might not. Well, he got the bid, right? Well, then what they do is they start crunching the numbers, right? So everything here's the lighting, here's the HVAC, here's the garage doors, here's the concrete. They just add 10%, basically, right? Maybe different for every builder, obviously. So now when we got the job, hey, let's start working these guys a little bit. Hey, well, let me call around because now that we got the job, so hey, if we could save, another 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 off this job, you know, and so that's what happened. There's a local company. Hey, man, I can't doubt. We got to pay a hotel, we got time, we got gas. I mean, so he politely told the builder, you know what, let it go to the local guy that's up there because it's just too far. And I thought, yeah, as much as that fire in me wanted to be like, don't turn that down, we'll get her done. And I go, yeah. How many times have you gotten your butt spanked on that? You're sitting there, you got, the day it happens, it's a blizzard. You got a truck full of, 6 grown men that you're going, and you're driving the vehicle, and you got their lives in your hand, and there's sitting there some guys in the back, you should go faster. You're going, dude, I don't want to crash. Like, I can't. What if I survive? I'm the only survivor. And I gotta try to support your guys. I'm gonna feel horrible. I'm gonna feel horrible. Like I don't want to keep. I know little Jenny. She eats a lot. You know what I mean. And then you got a truck. Maybe you're pulling a trailer. That's what I was doing. I was pulling a big enclosed trailer. Thought I was gonna blow the transmission out of that truck because 6 guys in it. It's an F-150. I'm pulling a trailer. It's full of doors for a big fire department. I remember we finally we needed to get it done in a day. So we started really early. Of course, we got a blizzard that night. So I'm just white knuckle driving. We get up there, we get the job done, right? And I remember we're sitting there at Buffalo Wild Wings. And I don't know if do you guys got Buffalo Wild Wings by you? Anybody? And so we're sitting at B-Dubs, right? And I remember I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm just so exhausted. So exhausted. All the mental, all the getting the material here, nothing's damaged. We had a little bit of a scuffle with, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was like, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, all I want to do, I'm not a big drinker, but I was like, I could drink a tall draft right now. And I just want to get a hotel room and go to bed. And I remember I was like, I can't do it though. I can't do it. So I got to eat. I got to drink my Coke or Pepsi, whatever they have there. I think they got Pepsi. And I'm thinking, I got to drink and I got to eat my chicken fingers, whatever, chicken nuggets. And then we got to drive home. Woohoo. And then I got a whole day. Of cleaning this mess up because I got garbage everywhere. The tools are scattered everywhere. I got to pay all these men. Some of them are not standard long, employees. So they're whatever cash, and then you sit there and you're just licking your wounds. Did I make any money? Oh crap. I don't think I did. No, I did. We did. We added $100 right there. Okay. Oh, but then I bought them dinner and dinner cost $600. Mother. Oh man. So we got our flyers. See a lot in Chicago. What do you see a lot in Chicago, Rich? What is a see a lot in Chicago? What is that? What's Alice? Alice? What is ALYS? What is that? Colorado. Grocery. Ooh, grocery. There you go. Bulletin boards. Bulletin boards are good. I always look for them. Like we got some local restaurants. I try to, you can put them up there. I've gotten a few. Through there. You know what I mean? It's at least it's a start. It's something. Let's see here. Grocery. Yeah. Let's type right on the freeway exit. Yep, somewhere where they can, um, sometimes like intersections seem to work pretty good. Um, you gotta think about where they got maybe a passenger and they can, hey, take a screenshot of that real quick, or or not a screenshot, but take a picture. So you got to think of certain areas, and then depending on what your area is, if you got like a lot of like wind, make sure you spend the money on the better uh ground stakes, because I've noticed that the cheaper ones will um they'll flex and they'll actually break. I've seen it happen to one of them. So spend a little bit more. It's not too much more, and get the better ground stakes. Um, Rich just it got Hooters, man. You know what's really weird about Hooters is back in Muskegon when I was young. I don't know. I was probably 13, 14, somewhere 15. Um, Man, I remember they came in, swooped into town, right? And it was like, woo, it's like this is and it was like they didn't last very long. They were like, I don't know, I think they were only there maybe like 4, 5, 6 years. And all of a sudden it was just like it's like they just couldn't make it. And it was like they were gone. It's weird for some reason. My mom always told me this, and I'm sure it's everywhere else too, but she always told me, she says, one thing about Muskegon is cheap. And so we used to have did anybody ever deal with anybody ever have Golden Corral? Well, I wait, step back. I shouldn't have said that. Old Country Buffet. Did anybody have Old Country Buffet? They were here, right? And we used to go there quite a bit when I was young. And I remember we always go in there and wait in line or whatever. And it was like, man, these people, like, some are huge, some big women and big men, you know what I mean? And it was like they would just eat and eat and eat. And it was like, I swear I seen some people putting stuff in their purse. Like they bring a big purse in, and they were like shoving stuff in there. And I was just like, whatever, man. That's Muskegon, man. That's just, what they do. Well, they finally closed up. And we were always kind of bummed because we like going there, and it was great because, especially when you're a kid and your mom and dad, I mean, everybody's got something they can eat, right? It's like they got ice cream. Well, then they went and did the Houdini. And then we ended up doing Golden Corral. That was what came in, right? And I was like, oh, sweet. Well, one caveat to Golden Corral that I didn't really like was they always would like give you your drink on like the platter. Like they had to always fill your drink, which was always the silliest thing because I thought, isn't like pop like the cheapest? So why wouldn't they make it do it like people aren't stealing the pop? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed weird. So you'd have to like walk through, right? And you got kids and you got people walking around. And it's like you're trying to hold this with like, maybe your wife and a couple kids drinks on there. And you're like, geez, I hope I don't spill these. Always weird, but they didn't last either. They ended up, they were, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe another 6 years, whatever it was. And they went and did the Houdini. And I thought, man, these places can't survive around here because people gobble them up. Brands was another one. We had a Brands. Maybe you guys still got Brands. We lost Logan's. Logan's was another good one that went gone. I think we just got a Wingstop. I just heard, I've been seeing it through social media. I don't even know where it's at. I don't know if they're any good. I don't know if it's more of a fast food, if they're trying to compete with like Chick-fil-A, or if that's more like B-Dubs. If I haven't never been there. Oh, no Russ's. Yeah, we still got some Russes. Oh yeah, we got like 2 that are in Muskegon. They're pretty close to roughly 2 or 3. Yeah, there's one in Grand Haven too. So there's 3 that are not too far. You know, I don't think I never heard of Alley's. I don't know what Alley's is. Alley's competition with Hooters. So, but yeah, so like I said, don't, the business cards, and I don't have it on me. I got one. I always carry a hard business card case. And then I always sneak a couple in my wallet because it never fails that I'll use them up in my hard case, right? Because you just get certain customers that you just know, right? Maybe they're commercial. You want your card to be as crisp as possible. So they always get beat up in your van or in your pocket. So I always had a card holder, a stiffer one, and then I always sneak a couple in my wallet because it never fails that you'll go to an event. Could be whatever, soccer, gymnastics, whatever, football game or something, right? And everybody's always talking about something, and they're like, "Oh, well, hey, he works on those," and then somebody's like, "Well, hey, you got a business card?" You know, and it's like, "Nah," and it's like, "Well, let me check. Yeah, I got one. You're real lucky. It's kind of worn out a little bit from being in my wallet, but I do have one. Here it is. You can call me or whatever." So that's why I always kept a couple in there. It is, if you can keep a couple in the vehicle, that's kind of nice too. But like I said, the flyers, I did it once. I had them all printed and laminated, whatever, real nice. Not laminated, but just a shiny paper. Had them all professionally built, and they just didn't work. But the signs have seemed like they've been pretty good. I think always a big one if you don't have nothing really labeled up. If you're added customers, right? Especially if you're in like a subdivision or something, get that yard sign out there, stake that puppy, and then um I don't know what a lot of people do. I've never found the secret sauce on it. Um some tell them, hey, can I leave it there for a couple weeks and I'll come back and either pick it up or you can throw it away. Typically you want to pick it up because it's, might be about, 6 or 12 bucks. Especially if you're out in that area. I've some people might, maybe give them a little bit of a, tell them, say, hey, I'll give you a gift card to your choice. Let it sit there, a $10 gift card or something for, gas station or maybe a grocery store. And, people love that kind of stuff. Or just tell them, say, hey, look, we'll bring you a $5 lotto ticket. Um, and that way that sign, because now the neighbors, right, everybody that's going to cruise down there, they're going to see that, right? And the first thing everybody always thinks, at least I do for the most part, I always think, I'm like, what is that? Yard sale, yard sale, free, selling the house. They're selling the house. I knew they were selling it. Oh no, it's not that. Oh, garage door. And what are they going to do? They're going to look at the garage door. And what are they going to do? They might be on Next. They might be friends on Facebook. They might have, it's a whole community and they're texting each other, right? And then what they'll do is, hey, I can't have you driving a nicer car than me. And I sure as hell can't have you having a nicer garage door. Hey, who'd you have do that? Huh? How much was it? Okay. And were you happy? Did you like their service? Were they kind, polite? You know, yeah, they were. They were great. Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll give them a call. You know what I mean? And they'll either give your number. And that's another reason why you also, make sure get stickers, man. I'm telling you, that's the best thing you can do is get stickers made, put them on the garage door, put them on the opener. I think they look a little gaudy on the opener. I wasn't a big opener guy. Even if I did an opener, I always stuck it on the garage door by either the disconnect, wherever it seemed like a panic was going to happen, right? So if the slide lock's right there, I always did it by the slide lock. I always did it by the man door. I put it right in the center somewhere. Try not to make it look gaudy. I'd make sure it's straight, and then I'd put it under the disconnect. So if that day when that spring breaks and they're sitting there and I don't know what to do, and the neighbor comes over and goes, well, it looks like these guys right here installed it. Why don't you give them a call? And then you're looking for the future. You know what I mean? And that's what takes a lot of time. You know what I mean? And your references will come kind of fast through the word of mouth, but sometimes it's that vortex like I talk about. And all of a sudden, you're doing one job and then it's all of a sudden it's two jobs. Next thing, I mean, it's funny how back in the day, I used to know everything that came on the truck. Trucks show up. I mean, especially nowadays, they show up and I'm like, who? Like, where the heck's this door going? I couldn't even tell you anymore, right? Because there's just so many of them. But it took many, oh man, I remember the deliveries in the yard. This guy that used to work at Wayne Dalton, he was a hard worker. He was a hard worker, dude. But man, he always liked to show up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And he'd back that darn truck up in the driveway. Beep, beep, beep. Neighbors probably hated me. And he'd be out there. And if I didn't catch him right, he'd unload them by himself. And I always try to make sure I could be out there helping them because, if you guys deal with garage door, you know how it is. They're heavy, they're bulky. The worst thing is now is if he damages them and doesn't, even if he damages them and acknowledges it, great. Now the customer's got to wait another week or two or three or four, You know what I mean? And it turns into a mess. So I always, holy crap, man, the guy, you never knew. It was like, is he going to show up at 4? He's going to show up at 6. And I finally got them to, at one point, they got somebody else for a driver, and they toned that down where they were at least they're, between like 7 and 8, you know what I mean? Sometimes 7:30, but I was like, holy cow, man, it's like you're killing me. Nothing like waking up in your bed though, you're sitting there, you all of a sudden you see blinking lights. You're like, oh my gosh, I think the fire truck is here. I think an ambulance. I don't know what's going on. Oh no, it's the garage doors being delivered. Oh man. Let's see here. Door, Mr. Tanner. It's good to see Mr. Tanner. Door stickers, business, name, number, logo. I was listening to this guy. I don't know. You guys let me know. What do you think? I was thinking I don't think that's a bad idea, right? But he was doing the raccoon. He was calling it something raccoon. And he goes, it's got a cute little raccoon. And I thought sometimes, you think about this, like it's got to be, it's almost like for the kids and the kids that are inside of us, right? I'm still a kid. What are you talking about? 40. Psh. But you just, there is things that you do. The biggest thing is if you can kind of keep the color scheme going the same, that always helps too. To some degree, it just depends. Once you start getting kind of bigger, it just like for us, it doesn't like people just know you. You know what I mean? You've been established for so long. It just kind of like, I mean, it's kind of bad, in a sense because you get lazy. Because like I said, I remember when I first started out, I was nailing all these phone calls, and I just saw I can't believe these guys aren't, but that's just the nature of the beast. I get it now. I get it now because I'm a seasoned old vet, and I look at it and I go, look, we got the customers, the big commercial customers and stuff like that, and the residential people that are loyal, and we got a lot of these bugs worked out that we don't need to answer the phone at 6, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, because we used to, and here's the thing too, for Ruben, Ruben was saying that, so like you could do what really helps, do same day service. I know it seems like you might not be able to fulfill that, but if you put it out there, do same day service. I eventually had to get away from the same day service. It got to be a little bit too much back and forth. You know what I mean? And then also the 24-hour service. Uh, it became we just hardly would get enough calls to warrant somebody to be watching it. And then it was like if you didn't answer that phone and you advertise that you're 24 hours, man, do people like to give you a good chewing? You know what I mean? Oh, no, I already called somebody else, blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, sorry I called you, 5 minutes after you called, and you called every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the phone book or on Google. I mean, so it got to be where it's like, this is just not, it's not worth it. A lot of our commercial, and even when you're just starting out, like you're doing a one-man band here, everybody's got your phone number direct. You know what I mean? And it might be something you might want to consider if you're going to do this long term and you really are passionate about it and you really enjoy it. You might really want to consider either just start out with another phone, and even if it's a real simple prepaid phone for right now, just to keep it cheap. Um, and at least if it can, take some basic pictures, it can do some texting. You might want to go down that avenue because that can get very old in a little bit of time. You know what I mean? And it sucks carrying two phones and that, but it's so much more beneficial that when that phone starts ringing, and I remember this one guy, he was a locksmith guy. He goes, when I get home, he goes, that phone, he goes right in my service vehicle, and that's where it stays. And he goes, next time I look at it is in the morning at 7 or whatever he gets it. He says, whenever I get my truck, I turn that truck on. He goes, that's when I start seeing my phone. He says, I don't, and I thought that's kind of a good way to do it, because if they got your personal, it never is going to fail that they are going to, I mean, I remember I used my personal phone or whatever it was, right? And I remember one time I butt called one of my customers. It was like I was working this was like a third part-time job while I was running the garage door business. And I remember I called him and I'm sitting there doing something, stacking produce or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like hearing this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, where's that coming from? I, oh crap. I picked it up and I seen who it was. And I was like, and at the time he was my best customer. And I was like, oh my gosh. I just called. I mean, I was so embarrassed. I just hung up. I was like, nothing happened here, because I was so embarrassed, man. And I just thought, dude, you can't do that kind of stuff, man. Mr. Sky Overhead, it's good to see you. Cheers. That's right. Cheers. So I always like that. The cheers. That's kind of cool. Too bad it's not something good. That's healthy. Uh so yeah, I like that. Oh, just charge. It's emergency fee after. Yeah, so you can do that. You can charge, like the after hours. For us, like I said, it was never as good as I thought it was going to be. To be honest, what was the real winner for us was the same day service. That got people's attention because especially on Broken Springs. And honestly, Ruben, you know what I should tell you too is that you might want to start just uh maybe consider doing garage door springs. You don't have to carry a lot. You know, the one thing I never took into consideration is the one thing I was horrible at was not taking into consideration all the extra time that I have to interact with the stuff. And that was when I got it at the shop. It was a spreadsheet, right? And it said, this is how you should be pricing your garage doors. And it tells you that, um, it shows on there like, oh, like basically you have to add 50% for this, for back hangs and that. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've never, not even like that to me, it was just part of the job. But if you got like high lift, obviously it takes longer. If you got to do perimeter seal, that takes longer. Um, it's kind of a given, but it had all these little things. And then it really opened up my mind to start thinking, going, holy crap. Like, you think about this, like for one, I got to unload this truck with these garage doors. And the bad thing with the garage doors is their liability in a sense, right? Yeah, sure they're going to make you money and stuff, but you sit there and watch these drivers that have no concept of running a business, have no really care. Some of them, not all of them, and they're chucking these things right out of the truck or stuff slamming, and you're like, hey, do you need help? And it's, oh no, I got it. Let me come up there. No, I got it. It's fine. Boom, boom. And you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I hope that wasn't my door. I hope that was my competition's. And no, the door, comes off. You see the rip down it. You're like, son of a biscuit, and then it even happens where, now you got to store this stuff. You got to put it in your shop. You got maybe a new guy. He doesn't, I remember a guy that worked with me one day. I mean, he's dropping the doors, right? In a sense, like he's making them like, treating them like OSB, or plywood. And I'm like, dude, like you do not slam those like that. I was like, we need to set them down. I'm like really gentle. And he's like, huh? He's like, well, they got carbon. Man. I said, they will dent. And I said, if they're dented, I said, and once we get out to the job site, and so like when you think about it, like you go, oh, okay, garage door springs, right? Well, garage door springs, what happens? Well, can you beat your competition in an emergency, basically? Well, they're so busy taking care of other customers. Well, maybe you can be the guy that, they call and hey, my garage door won't go up. Okay. Hey, could you go out there and snap me a picture? I'm assuming it sounds like you probably have a broken garage door spring. They go out there, they take you a picture. Yep, that's what it is. Ma'am or madam, sir, I charge anywhere from whatever your market is. I mean, over here it's whatever, $300 to like $600. So, that's the ballpark, what you're going to be looking at. I could come out, I could be out there within, you know, 45 minutes from where you're located, blah, blah, blah. How do maybe you want to go a little farther? Hey, how would you, there was just so much things I didn't do that you really need to do. And it seems rude, but after you get burned so many times, you need to ask these questions, right? Like I said, in for you new guys starting out, you got it made. You got it made with this stuff right here, this technology, this thing right here, this thing right here. Because everybody's carrying these, right? Go into a store, go into a restaurant. Everybody, huh? Huh? Even the kids, huh? Huh? That's all they do. So there's no reason, since they're carrying this thing and it's stuck to their butt, to go, hey, could you go out there and just take a couple pictures? And I can tell you what, for me, been doing it for so many years, I can tell you a lot. I can tell you, I mean, I could probably tell you the customer ain't going to pay, or the customer don't got the money, or the customer, we're going to have to educate them. They're going to need more education. You know what I mean? I could tell their door is totaled. You know what I mean? So I need to go out there. I should probably bring a pamphlet. You know what I mean? To sell them a new garage door, because two broken springs or cables are broke. The weather seals all. No, I better bring it. And I mean, all it has to be is a picture from the inside, the best they can, even if it's just a far one, because you can normally zoom in. If they take a decent picture, you can have them take a few more pictures. You got to do all these things, pre-qualify them. Don't be afraid to pre-qualify them. I didn't do that when I started. I would just run. And then what the worst thing I ever did was I would literally give them a receipt, because we didn't want to deal with the paperwork. We didn't want to deal with payment right then and there. So it was like, we give them a receipt, or I shouldn't say a receipt. We give them an invoice, and an invoice. We give them an invoice. Here you go. Go ahead and pay this in 30 days. And we would continue on to the next job. Right. And we just continue on. Well, all of a sudden, you know, your office staff, which is you, because you don't have, a secretary and you know, all of a sudden you're spending days, maybe weeks on the phone calling these customers back. Hey, we were out there a week ago and we did a broken spring, it looks like, for you. And we haven't received. Oh, well, I sent a check, or, oh, I'll pay with a credit card. Oh, crap. Well, if they pay with a credit card, because I used to, I'm kind of old school, man. I used to carry the machine around. I bought a gun, what do you call it, box for it. And we had it in there, sandwiched in there to keep it safe. Cause in the truck, it gets all banged up and water and everything else. And so when we were there, and it was a different fee if you swipe it versus punching it in, and it wasn't verified as good, so all kinds of things. And then we would, if you get a bad check, well, now you just increase that, right? So now that bad check is, now you already added a week to it. Now they send it to you in the mail. Now you go to cash it, it bounces, right? So you're adding time. And so the one thing I started realizing was, what's kind of bad in the industry a little bit is that I know Rich gets this, but you gobble up all this money, right? And it's like you're sitting, all that money's out there that you can't like take and buy more garage doors or invest into and eventually it comes in, right? But sometimes if it comes in late, you're sitting there, or a contractor or whoever doesn't pay you, you're sitting there going, well, dude, let's just say, for example, for a year, you didn't get paid. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, now that money came in, hell, it's not even worth what it was, because gas just jumped up $2 more a gallon, and back then I could have bought, more, whatever, so it's a weird system that we get part of with it. And so sometimes that's why I'm always like, you might want to expand a little bit, sure, use it as a paycheck, sure, make your money, um, but you might not want to go down this deep rabbit hole like I did, because how do I say it? You could have probably got farther with your money. Yeah, that's how I feel, because you invest and you invest and you invest, and it's not that it's bad. And once it goes, it's kind of going, but it's just, oh man, did I sacrifice a lot? A lot. I've gained a lot, but with the power of YouTube, you guys can learn from my mistakes, not make it. You can ask me. I mean, I'm basically not available from midnight to 6 in the morning. That's about when I'm not available. I'm sleeping. So the rest of the time, you guys can always use comments. You guys can always email. Some of you got my phone number, so you guys, so it's just, and like I said, it's my pleasure in life now is teaching the next generation, is teaching my kids, teaching everyone and anything. I love to teach it, and I love to learn. myself. I know, because I just know there's so many other ways to do things, and it just never seems like it fails. It's like that adrenaline rush, right? I love when I get that little nugget and I'm sitting there going, God darn it, I've been doing this for years. And I watch this guy. And I mean, this guy that came, his name was Cole, really good dude. He just had a heart of gold, man. I'm telling you, he would literally like he was doing fencing and he was working with me. And I mean, he was just like I'm like his kid. He's just showing me, he's like, I'm like, well, how do you tighten up like like this is how I've done it, but how do you tighten up barbed wire? And he's just like, oh, he's like, make a T-bar, put a hole up, it works slick. So I made one, I did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier. And I thought, he didn't have to tell me that. I mean, that's like his trade secret, right? That's I ain't gonna tell this kid. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things I respect him so much more, you know what I mean, for doing that. And I was literally thinking about contacting him and just be like, "Hey," like, because he was bouncing between Michigan and actually Colorado, and, I was thinking to myself, like, I was thinking about just going hooking up with him for a while because I thought I just you look at it and it's like concrete, right? You go, "It's just concrete." It ain't just concrete, man. There's a science to it. There's these guys can, it's just like when doing garage doors. I could go around and bang on track and I could tell you go, something's loose. Or I almost felt like I was so good at it. I could blindfold myself and go, back hangs are too tight. I can hear it, because you get to be so in tune with it. I'm sure you guys get it. It's like if you worked at a shop or something, you know how the machine runs, vehicle, things like that. It's just you start, learning. Would just Rich has got another drink on there. You got it. That's right. I have my doors delivered on site. Oh man, that's right. That's right. Mr. Rich has got it. That's right. The best money you can spend, man. I'm telling you, it's but you know how it is, Rich. You got to make sure you get all that stuff right, right? And I mean, it's stuff like that like employees probably don't get it, where it's like, you got to make sure the address is right. You got to make sure the vendor's on course with it. It's got to fit in their their delivery route, things like that. And that's like I think I've told the story before, where I got burned one time because all of a sudden I was just like I said, it's easy to do when you're in construction, right? You're just, oh my gosh, I gotta put out this fire, gotta put out this fire, gotta put this fire. And then the next thing you know, like I said, I was getting one delivered, and I thought, what am I thinking? I don't want this delivered to my shop. That's a lot of doors. I'll get it. Oh my gosh. I only got like 3 or 4 days before they're going to deliver. I don't know if they'll do it. And I called them in a panic, and I'm like, is there any way you can get this like delivered? And they're like, yeah, we'll get it. It's going to cost you. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care what it is. Just, they're going to be fair with me. Like same thing. It's going to be 70 or $150, something like that. I don't care because my time is more valuable. And then I got burned because then I got them dropped off. And then that's when the builder was being shady. And then they shut down the job. Oh boy. Oh boy. Not good. Not good at all. It was not. And I had to go after them, do the law stuff. So that's why I got to have stuff signed, and I screwed up because the guy he wasn't there, right? Because I changed everything. And then he was supposed to be there to cut me a check. And this was a brand new builder. I should have known. It's just not good. I would have been so much better off. Like if we would have had him delivered to the shop, and then if we would have took him up there kind of one by one. So when he first got up there with the first door and they said, oh, no, we shut the job site down. At least the guys would have came back and said, hey, shut the job site down. We got the door in the back of the truck or the van. What do you want us to do? I'm like, well, throw it. At least I got the product, where it was locked up on the job. I didn't have the product. And I'm sitting there, all I'm kept thinking is the building don't got a roof on it. I got, my garage doors just cost wise was $10,000. I got $10,000 sitting there. It's in the rain, and I'm like trying to devise a plan. Like, I'm like, well, it's not too far from the road. If I get like 3 or 4 guys, we park on the side of the road and we hustle the crap out at midnight. Yeah, but what if we got to deal with the cops or something, So the best thing you can do in those situations, I think it's called a material lien instead of like a normal lien or something, like construction lien. And that gets people's attention. So you got to do that like right away. And so luckily I did. And then when the next builder came in, which this was months later, so my springs were rusty. They weren't like solid rust, but they had a little bit of rust on them. So they sat out in the weather a little bit. The boxes were all nasty, and so was the hardware. So you had to pick the hardware boxes up. It's like the bottoms want to fall out of it. I mean, who builds a building? I should have known. Like, as soon as I dropped the doors off, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going, who in their right mind builds puts the walls on the tin sheet and doesn't do the roof? And I thought, well, things happen. Maybe they just didn't have the metal yet. It just didn't come in, so they just thought, well, we got to keep busy. Might as well do the walls. Things like that happen, right? But I thought they didn't do the roof. The roof always goes first, and that's just normal building practice, man. Get yourself dried in. COD, cash is king. Yep. Yep, that is the best. Like I said, we haven't had it in quite a long time, but boy, I tell you what, maybe about 10 years ago or so, we had a run where we started getting like checks that were bouncing big time. It was like, I mean, I was getting so close to, I was going to buy one of those machines that would like check it. And I was looking pretty hard at it because I was just getting sick. And there's always a process when those checks are bad. It's like, and so what, maybe some of you do, maybe some of you don't. This might be helpful for somebody. I always put all the checks and I would actually print them. I'd take a copy of them because for what I can't remember how it is because I don't do it anymore. But it was like you send it in and they would tell you that this amount didn't clear, but it wouldn't say like a name or anything like that. Typically, now maybe they advanced and now they got pictures. I think they might have pictures now. I don't remember, but back then they didn't. It was just like it would tell you an amount didn't clear, and it's like, well, what the, I don't know. You know what I mean? Unless you maybe on your deposit slip, but you don't normally have a spot for that. So I had copies. So I had everything like in a file. Then I'd make my deposit. And then it was like when that would come back, I go, oh, okay, well, that happened on this date. So it's got to be in this stack. I'd go through the stack and I'd find the amount and I'd go, oh, it's right here. So it's for this check. And I think, they send it back to you once, maybe, but they don't send it back. I don't remember, but you might want to take copies of them. It's just something that I think we still practice, honestly. It just gives you more information. It's kind of like the whole credit cards. I've had credit cards too, where I remember one time, how was it? Oh, I got a letter in the mail and it said, this is MasterCard or whatever. And we retracted this 300 and some dollar refund or something, and I'm like, that's weird. How did that happen? And then what really got me was, I went down to my accountant, I think that same day for just something else. And I said, yeah, I said, we got this letter. I said, and I said, it's like they took out $300 or something, or they're disputing 300 and some dollars. And she goes, oh yeah. She goes, I seen they took that out. And I mean, my blood boiled. I was like, what do you mean they already took the money out? I was like, I just got this today. And she's like, yeah, that happened like last week. And I'm like, oh, you see how it's rigged? I see how it is. Oh, so they already pulled their money out, so I don't close the account. I mean, obviously, I'm not going. There's more money and stuff in there than that, but they pulled the money already. And so I start going through. I find out they don't give me like any details. Like they don't like we can't tell you who it is, but we're just telling you we took an amount. So I had to go through the receipts. Right? Luckily, we don't have a ton at the time because we're not super big business yet. And I find it right, the little slip, and I'm like, okay, right here it is. Here's the amount and everything. I got the guy, he's even signature on the little piece of paper. And I'm thinking, all right, like, here we go. Like, how does this work? Like, so they just pull the money. And it was because obviously he called and said, well, I called him and I said, hey, I said, like you retracted this money. And he goes, well, I thought you were a storage company or something. He goes, it just threw me off. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, buddy. Like he goes, I'll send a check out. And I thought, yeah, right. He did. He sent a check out. I couldn't believe it. But it was just really irritating that it's like you do all these stupid processes that they want, right? And it's not like they should say, hey, this is in limbo right now. Can you prove, and I mean, I'm sure I could really, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like they were calling us and saying, hey, we want to get this resolved. Can you send us a fax machine with the signature? It was just retarded, man, I tell you. So that's why sometimes it's not good until it cashes and you can pull it out of the bank account because some stuff gets retracted. And so it's just a real pain. Let's see, get it. Just delivered a full view vertical high lift door from Martin. Ooh, nice. My flat rack and custom made 2005. So nice. Ooh. Full view, man. Whew. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Glass, glass, glass. We used to we got it down where the secretary, she knows how to do it, but she's like, we do it where like it was like metal and then a full, like we got it so the price was really economical for like we had a guy that was doing car washes with them. Of course, you know how it is. Didn't recommend it in that, but he kind of had a valid point. He said, look, he goes, if I go spend on a roll-up door, roll-up door is a time, whatever, $8,000, $10,000. He goes, and somebody wrecks it. He says, within 3 years, I didn't even get the life out of it. You know what I mean? He goes, or he goes, I can buy this door that's like, $2,000, $3,000. He goes, I get 10 years out of it. I throw it away. I get another one. I could kind of start seeing where he was coming from because I kept thinking about it because what we did is we actually did we did like a fluid film on it, so everything was coated, and then he ended up and of course, one of them did. Somebody, customer ran right through it, destroyed it. And so I was like, well, obviously he's probably saving some money that way. Cause you know how it is nowadays, especially nowadays, it's getting worse. You want to make an insurance claim? Yeah, right. Go for it. See if you get your money, see how much they jack your prices up. It's like you got to it's just there for show, for catastrophic, for when the building's on fire and burns to the ground, that maybe they'll give you half, you know. Let's see. It was a Martin. Some people just gel so good together. You don't even need to talk to everyone to know what to do, next steps to do. Yeah. How much do you charge for a full service? Well, what kind of service are you talking about? I think I made a video. No, and I gotta remember, I could probably look it up. And like I said, it's so different for everywhere because like when I went down to Arizona, I was out with another garage door company. They sent me the list. He sent me home with a list. And this dude was from Michigan. And he's like, I'm just telling you. His name was Dave too. So he's like, Dave, from Dave. He's like, I'm just telling you, these rates will not work up in Michigan. And he was right. I mean, there was stuff on there like they were installing openers. They pay their tech guys like $20. Like a door was like $65. I'm like, I couldn't get guys like I can't get subs now. Like anything under $200. Like, I mean, and you're getting them to do it for 65, but he's like, at the time before everything was even crazy, they're closer to the border and everything. And he's like, we got so much cheap labor. He says, compared to up north. But I think we were at, I think it's 120, I think for residential. And it's like 160. Let's see if I can pull it up. 900, correct. 120, 169. Yep. So 120, excuse me, 120 for residential. And like I said, 169 for commercial. And like I said, it's just a made up number, basically. You know what I mean? Like over the years, we've increased it because obviously maybe our competition or just the workload. We know what our customers, so it's, when you're kind of starting out, it's not that you don't want to be like too cheap and you don't want to like undercut yourself because I did that one time and that was like the last, like I went there and the guy was like, well, other guys said they do it for 40, and I was like, I got no proof, he's got no proof. And so I remember, I think our service calls back then for residential were 65. And I think I did it for like 45 or something. And I mean, I'm telling you what, man, this garage was crooked. I mean, there was like dog crap in there. I mean, it was just like, it was like, as soon as I started touching it, it was one of those jobs that I just went, like, I wanted to literally stand up and I just wanted to go, you know what? Why don't you call the other guy? Have a nice day. I don't want to work on this anymore. I'm out of here. Don't ever call me. Don't ever give me reviews. Don't ever nothing. Please. Like, just, we never met. You don't even know who I am. I'm just some guy that walked off the street. That's how I felt. I just, you just can't do that, right? You kind of, committed, you're there, you said you'll do it, and for a lot of you guys now, it's, and for the new guys coming in, it's getting, I don't think it's besides the phones and you having customers help you through the process and you pre-qualifying them and you're determining a lot of stuff over the phone, I don't see it getting better because the people, the service, it's hard to find good service. It's not that it's not out there. It's just, it's hard. And then the worst thing that's happened is reviews because now everybody has got an opinion and everybody wants to say their opinion, right? So one iota of bad, right? And then some of this stuff, some of the social media stuff, right? You can't even like do a rebuttal on, some of it you can, but it's just becoming like, you dealt with this customer. Now they give you a bad review. Now you got to spend more time dealing with the bad review and explaining like, well, we're really sorry about this, that this happened. And then you got to make sure that that you don't turn it into a, a war between you two, you know what I mean? Or you say, well, you know what, you're wearing mismatched socks and that's why I don't like you or something, you got to stay neutral. So you got to be, that's why like, it's always better to say no on this than it is to drive there and then they see you, you say no, they take a picture of you when you're leaving. This guy, he didn't know what he was doing. He said this, he said that. I got him on my Ring camera. He didn't even knock. He just walked in. I mean, it's just the media, man. Like I said, it's really gotten just nuts. It's not everybody, obviously. It doesn't happen all the time. I mean, it's kind of 1 out of 10, but you just got to be careful and you just got to really listen to what people are telling you. You got to, hey, could you please take me some pictures? And like I said, the pictures will tell you a lot. Like I said, if I would have had somebody take a picture of the garage door, I worked on one time and we got in there, right? And we never seen the customer. The customer called, hey, we got a broken spring. Okay, I go out there. I go out there with my business partner at the time, right? Very many years ago. And I remember we're in there working, right? My buddy, business partner, whatever, he gets in there. He's just working on the springs, right? He's go, go, go. And I'm looking around and okay. I said, man, I don't think we're going to get paid. Why you say that? He's sitting there winding springs over. I said, man, I said, look behind us. I said, there is a wall of garbage. I mean, literally garbage. Like it stinks in here. Like I see a diaper hanging out of one. I don't think they got garbage service. Like it's like heaped up in the back. You know what I mean? Like there's a wall of garbage. The house it's a very nice house for the most part. It's a nice wood cabin look. Got land, I'm like, and guess what? Stupid us, stupid me. We go in there, we change the springs, right? We get the door all working, we oil it up, and we leave the invoice. We're just assuming they're at work, right? But it was weird. We heard thumps a few times, like I think somebody's here, but we banged on the door, nobody answered. So guess what happened with that job? We went on and on with this customer, right? Called and called and called. We couldn't get nowhere. And we ended up finally, we're sending stuff in the mail. I'm leaving stuff. I went there like 2 or 3 times to knock on the door. And then the one time I'm there, like the TV's on, I could hear like, it sounded like somebody ran upstairs. I don't know if it's the kids. I don't know. You know what I mean? And we finally got to the point where I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I'm telling you, like small claims courts, good luck with that. Spend days there, spend your money. I'd rather have it the other way. Let them take me. So I said, well, you know what? I said, we know the side door is jacked up. I said, it's unlocked. Like it's broken. I don't know if it was kicked in or whatever, maybe a past service person. I don't know. It was for sure unlocked. So I said, let's go back there. I said, we'll take our springs, our garage door springs. Really? Yeah. I don't even know. Like they won't answer. We've called. I don't think texting was real big yet. I've left numerous of papers, I've sent it even in the mail. I don't know, man. You know what I mean? So like we went in there and I remember, my business partner, we walk in there and he's like, I mean, he was just ready, man. He was ready to go. He's like, I'll cut the cables. I'm like, no. I'm like, we're not cutting the cables. I was like, we didn't replace the cables. I was like, we just replaced the garage door springs. Let's just unwind them. I said, we'll we'll just do this. And I said, and we'll be honest. We'll be nice about it. Hey, if somebody comes out and they're like, what the heck are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We'll just, you know, you going to pay your bill? So it's one of those things that we should have made sure we got paid right then and there. We should have never left. You know what I mean? We should have just been sitting there. We should have called them and said, well, we'll just have to wait it out, or you need to give some form of payment. Because even if they give you a check and it's a bad check, it's almost a signature. It's a contract. So you can use that. I have had to use it before in the court system. So I'm working on my price sheets. Yeah, work on that price sheet, man. Price sheets got really old for me. For you just starting out, you got the time. It's one of those things like you got more time. I don't want to say more time than money because I don't know what your financial is, but I used to do a price sheet, and then a lot of this stuff always changed a lot. So like Service Spring, um, but you got to have some kind of reference because you probably don't really have an account like with Service Spring, and that they got those QR things you can scan. I think and once you're locked in, I don't quote me on this, it'll probably give you the price. That's the way to do it because this stuff is always changing. And I got so sick of price sheets, always changing them and trying to update them. And then I'd get yelled at by the secretary or my wife. And, they'd be like, you didn't charge enough. Didn't you? This stuff went up 20 or $50. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll try to update it, so, but yeah, it is nice to have something in front of you, and something you can hand to the customer if they're already marked up. I always kind of did the 3 options. So don't be afraid. That's what worked best. You start giving them too many, unless they want something high end, and sure, you get a pamphlet, whatever. What does that? I used to pay $2 per check to call. Oh man, I'm glad you said that, Mr. Sky Overhead. I didn't even know that was an option. That you could do $2 per check. Huh. For leaving the job. Man, that's a good idea. Boy, I wish I would have known about that. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? I might have to call the bank to see if that still exists. I might have to let the guys know. I won't take American Express. We don't take American Express either. We just had, I don't know. It's like they charge you. I think they charge you more or something like that. And it was never used enough. It was like, uh, ooh, I didn't know this, that they'll dispute the charges and not pay you. We never used them enough to really experience it. We got to the point where we just ended up telling people, no, we don't do it. So, so I'm trying to think about for Mr. Rubin. I'm trying to think if there's any more ideas. Price sheet. Biggest thing is getting out there. You know what I mean? I don't know. I got in with the one guy at Menards, and for whatever reason, I think it was pretty inexpensive. I don't know if you have a Menards, but they would get you signed up with their contractor department. And like, it was just like they put your card like in the glass thing. But I remember I got quite a few people that would recommend us through there. It was enough to at least stir it. They weren't maybe always good leads of some sort, but they stir the pot to make the phone at least ring. Your hardest challenge is always getting that phone to ring, and it might be something if you got somebody that can answer the phone. One tip I always try to tell people, what I used to do is when I was really hardcore on it was you should literally take every day when you wake up, set a time and change your voicemail. It'll just make you sound so much more personal. Say, hey, hi, you've reached, whoever. I'm not available. I'm either. I always like just to say I'm with another customer, or I'm, currently driving, of something of that nature. And then I would say, I am in today, or in the office, whatever you want to do. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, February 24th or whatever it is. And that just always made it feel a little bit more for some of those customers that it's like, oh, they're there, instead of just a generic, hi, you've reached Bob's Tree Service. Leave a message after the tone. I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. because you just don't know. But if you give them some direction and just say, hi, you've reached whoever, and it's very redundant. It's really kind of, it just sucks doing it, honestly. But if you're hungry and you want that business, it's just one extra thing if you don't have the option. So what I was doing is I would literally, I'd had it so like my business partner was a secondary, you know what I mean? So if my phone didn't catch it, because it never seemed like it failed, I'm sure some of you guys can contest to this, but it seemed like it never failed. That I'd always be standing in front of right there with the customer, right? And you're sitting there all just talking away and talking about some random whatever. And then it's like all of a sudden your phone. Now, hopefully, I didn't always, but I always try to I'd always have my phone, but they could still hear the vibrating, right? And so they always do is that my phone? You know, oh, no, do you need to get your phone? You can take it. And I'm like, no, I'm here with you right now. I respect that. I don't want to interrupt that. So I'd always try to, interact with them. I take the phone call, but all it took is that you missed that one phone call and now somebody's, oh, I already, you call 5 minutes later, or whatever, you get back in a truck 10 minutes later, and I already found, I already talked to somebody else, and they said they could come out. So, thanks. Don't forget that's the time when you can maybe quiz them a little bit. I've done that where it's like, well, who did you, and I don't bash, I always just be really respectful. And they go, well, I called this guy and he said he could be out here. And oh, well, what does he charge? You know, and you can be respectful and get some information that way. So you kind of know what your competition is doing. And they might say something where it goes, well, he said he couldn't get out here for, 2 or 3 hours. And you go, well, if you like, if you wanted to, a lot of people don't like doing that. I don't really try to encourage that because it gets to be kind of a bloody mess. But you could say, well, I could be out there within an hour, and they kind of go, sometimes you can get them. It just depends on how desperate. You ain't got nothing to do for that day. You'll take it. I mean, you got to eat. You got to eat. I've had it before where I was on the ladder, and I thought it was really weird. It was nice. It was nice. I don't know this one competition. This was years ago, and I'm up there. I remember I'm winding the spring. Right, I'm at an old couple's house, husband wife, real friendly people. And this guy's already given me the whole story. Like, yeah, I called this one company, and I've there's stickers on the door, blah blah, blah, but they don't answer their phone. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know all the scenarios on it, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, all of a sudden the wife comes out of the door and she goes, we'll call him Harold. Harold, somebody's on the phone for you. Hmm. Who? Blah 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 blah. He goes and he answers, right. And he brings the phone out and I can hear him, and he's doing this like, you know, oh no, I got the guy right here, and I'm like, I feel embarrassed, right? It's almost like like, sir, should I stop working? Do you want your normal guy that's you've had for, comes out 6 times a year or something? Like, and he's like, oh no, he's like, I got affordable out here. And the guy was like telling him, I could kind of hear it through the phone a little bit, I was like, oh yeah, I know him. Real nice, he's a good dude, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, you do know? Okay. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know them. I I know their name, but I don't know any of the people personally. And this guy's acting like, oh yeah, I've met him. He's a nice guy, blah, and I'm thinking, well, hey, at least it's not the other way, right? Where it's like, oh, those guys, oh, they'll never get it done right. It'll be horrible. You should have just waited till I called you. So it's Menards Contractor Service for Mr. Rich. So, but yeah, it's once you kind of get out there, even if you can, depending on what kind of, you said you got the van, even if it's a magnet sticker, that can kind of help. Obviously a sticker can kind of help a little bit too, promote you. Um, like I said, the biggest thing is if you can answer the phone and be polite. And it's really hard when you're first starting out to get that phone to ring, and you kind of got to gobble up. but you'd be surprised that sometimes one thing will lead to another. And, it might be a neighbor, it might be the person that you're working for runs works at a shop or something like that. But, if you can, just provide a good service, and don't forget to do, like, even if you go out there for something simple, just a little food for thought is do a preventative maintenance package, basically. So that way you don't get shot down. Because if you go out there, I've had this happen numerous times. If you go out there and you do, let's say you tweak a photo eye, it takes you 5 minutes. They're not going to be that thrilled about paying you a full service call. Now, I'm on the other side of the fence. I understand why you need to charge a full service call, because you have a vehicle to pay for. You have to pay yourself. You have to, pay for the oil change and all these things, right? The paperwork and the bank account. So, but if you spend some time there, right, and they're out there yakking away, or they're coming out and they're checking on you, right, and I mean, I've even done this, right, you pull the cover off, right, and you know, blow out the white dust on there, you grease up the gear in it, whatever, you spray the chain down, right, you tighten up the chain a little bit, not too much. You tighten it up too much, you'll throw the chain off the sprocket, and then you'll have a problem. You go through and just meditate with the door a little bit, right? Spray the rollers, hinges, basic stuff, right? The springs, they're going to feel much more that they got the quick lube oil change service. I seen you check my tires. I seen you with the grease gun. I seen you change the oil, even though you really didn't see all the stuff, right? They were sitting there greasing. There's no grease zerks on this thing, right? But it's just an experience, and then they'll be more willing to pay that full service call. And that's just the way you should do it, because like I said, I've gone in there before. I remember I had an old lady one time. She was still very mobile, but I told her, hey, I said, do you want to come out here? I said, you hit your photo eye, I said, with the garbage can. I said, do you want me to show you what happens, so you know how? Oh no. Oh no. Well, she pays me my service call, right? I come back a second time, right? Happens again. And I'm like I gotta charge you, I mean, and so I was kind of irritated, because just her attitude. So I was like, do you want to come out here? And she's like, yeah, I better come out there and look. I'm like, so I was trying to avoid the first time, but you just keep calling me, like I can run out here, for free will, and I can't. You know what I mean? I got other customers that want to pay me. I got, other places I'm supposed to be. And I'm trying to help you out here by, like, showing you what to do and what not to do. Don't hit your, don't hit this. And the thing was, it wasn't like we just installed an opener and she's used to this or something. I would have been a little more forgiving, like, yeah, but this was an original installment that was not mine. It was like she just called out of the whim. So it's just weird things. It says adjusting a photo. I always lube, door, check. Oh man, Rich brings up the light bulb. The light bulbs. Like I said, I still got to make a shirt about the light bulbs. Yes. So Ruben, make sure that you always provide light bulbs when you do garage door openers. Don't be a dummy like me and reuse old ones just provide brand new ones. Make sure you got some on the truck too. You know what I mean? Just in case, even if you got to sell them or whatever. Light bulbs were the death of me. I don't know if that video is still out there or not. I should just label it how, so people can go to it. But there's a video out there, me talking very extensively about light bulbs. I still I can feel my blood boiling with the whole light bulbs. Lots of problems with light bulbs. Lots of problems. So many problems. Not even, and it could all have been resolved. You know what I mean? Like when you install an opener and it's like, where's the light bulb? Oh, do you got one? I mean, I had so many customers. I look back now and I remember they go through their house and then they come back out and they go, oh, I got one, or I got two, right? Two light bulbs. And they go, I took one out of my lamp. And my first thing was like, oh, well, how old is it? How long has it been in your lamp? Is it a week away from burning out? And I just remember, you know, these people would call me and they'd be like, I think something's wrong with this opener. I'd be like, huh? Well, the light quit working. Well, I told you, and it just never failed. I could look them dead in the eye, right? And say, hey, I took your light bulb out of your old opener. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm just want, oh, okay, okay. And their head's always down. They're always okay. It turns into, 2 weeks later, it's not okay. So, yeah, it's those light bulbs, man. She likes you. Oh, man. Like I said, when I did the one lady that was down the road from the shop, that was it. I was done, man. I got my enough punishment. It was probably actually the one that really got me the worst, which was the one that was about an hour and change one way, and my tech installed two openers at the same job, right? And you're like, yeah, like, oh yeah, man, we're doing all right, like we made a few bucks, and he was at the same job, so he got two openers installed. They're running good. He's a good technician and everything. And I got that phone call from Lowe's, and Lowe's goes, the customer's complaining that the lights aren't working. And uh, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, hi, Lowe's. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you guys don't provide light bulbs, and you guys don't pay worth diddly. Yeah. So like, we don't provide, like, light bulbs are like, still a couple bucks, you know what I mean? And so, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, like, can you put them in? And I'm like, can you send an associate? They're closer, than I am. Like, and I met this guy when I did the detail, and he's like a, I don't know, he's a tall dude, man. He's like 7'8" or something. He was a tall dude. And I'm thinking I could probably on my tippy toes reach the covers and light. And I'm like, this guy can't put like I kind of understand it, but can we come up with another resolution here? And they're like, well, we'll provide the light bulbs. And I'm like, that's not the point. I'm like, hell, I would rather provide the light bulbs, you know what I mean? And have somebody else, your associate or the guy, put them in, because it's the time, the gas, the truck, the technician. That's the problem. You know, who cares about the $3 light bulbs? You know what I mean? Hell, I'll give them four. I'll give them six. I mean, it's the problem is going back up there, and so sure enough, I don't even remember. I think I went up there, and I thought I'm getting my damn light bulbs. So they gave me light bulbs. I walked in the store, and like you know how it is. Like you can't take it out on the people there in a sense because they're like they don't know. They're just. It's like I just come walking in there. Yeah, I called a little while ago. Like somebody's gonna have some light bulbs for me. Like I can't believe this is even happening. Like I'm waiting for the camera crew to come out and be like, you've been punked, And I'm like, oh, that was good, you know. And I'm like, so that was my whole thing where I just said, no more, man. We install them. We're installing light bulbs. We'll do whatever we got to do. This is ridiculous. And like I said, I've talked about it before. I get it. You know what I mean? If I went to Best Buy, I spent, and like I said, we sit here, right? It's easier for us when we're trying to sell something. We see something. We deal with the numbers, right? But darn well, just as well as I do, it always hurts when it comes out of your own pocket, right? When you're like, oh, I gotta buy that roof. Oh, I gotta buy that hot water tank. Oh, I gotta buy a garage door for myself. How much? That no, like this is for my this is no, I don't need it installed. I'm gonna install it. No, I need cost. That's still you know what I mean? Well, that's how these people feel. And so I get it. You know what I mean? It's like if I had Best Buy and I paid X amount of dollars for a TV and, I get home and a hard day and got a beer in one hand and the remote doesn't work. I'd be like, honey, I thought you said they installed this. She goes, they did. I watched them all day. They were here, blah, blah, blah. Well, why won't it turn on? And then you open it up, you call them and go, you didn't put no damn batteries in the remote. Oh, well, you know what I mean? Like you could see how that kind of burn. So I kind of get it, but it's hard when you're dealing with peanuts, and we were dealing with peanuts. I mean, I think we were getting paid like $78 per install. And then when you had my technician guy, which was a great dude, and he never wanted to use the little pieces of crappy angle they'd give you in the box. He used regular angle, make it actually right. And I'm like, dude, you can't, like, that's costing me like $20 right there. And then by the time I got to pay you, and then we got fuel in the truck, like, we're not making the money. uh, uh, ooh, that's a good one, Tanner. Does anyone else get asked if you take Venmo? I I'm gonna ask Cap. I'm gonna ask him about that because I know in my other businesses, we actually promote it. We actually don't even deal with so much the credit cards because of the fees. And it seems like it's becoming a real, um, like, I just can't believe we haven't had more blowback on it. Um, because I got a couple startup business, and I'm just really surprised that we tell them that we're like, you can pay Venmo, and I'm just surprised that we haven't had more um, people just going, "What? You don't take credit card?" And it's like, to me, credit cards are dirty, man. I just don't like credit cards. I mean, ever since they took the money out, they charge you all these fees. When you get the people that are like, "Oh, I get freaking Flyomires, or I get points back, or I get cash back," and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, well, I pay for it, out of the business, so it ain't really free." Or, sometimes you can up it. You're not really supposed to, but there's ways around it. You can tell them, say, if you're going to pay with a card, I got to charge you a 3% processing fee, not processing, but you tell them whatever, a office fee or secretary fee, because they don't like you saying that, because they don't want their secret revealed. Um, but the wife does, but I try to stay away from that. Cash it check. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult because I think it's this year it's starting that they do, like, for one, you got to remember the government's going to be, they were going to do it last year right up to last minute, and they pulled it. But this year, these accounts, if you got PayPal, if you got Apple Pay, they're going to be like tracking it basically. And I guess it just depends, you know what I mean? So, like, for the other business, like, I don't have any, like, we don't accept credit card, and I don't want to. I don't even think I want to. Maybe the only. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I can't say it. It's too new yet. But um it's slick. It is slick. And I think there's only, like, you only get charged if you pull out. So, like, I know I had to buy chains for tires, and because we had to snow. And when I was clicking through it, I was surprised, right? I was getting ready to pay. I was going to pay with a credit card, and it popped up, hey, do you want to pay, like, with, like, Venmo? And I was like, oh, I said, well, that's kind of cool, because not a lot of people obviously accept it. So I told the wife, I said, hey, I said, you might want to jump on there. I said, and it's just a way for you to basically, kind of a nutshell, get rid of the money, because otherwise, if you eventually ever cash out, you got to pay a fee on it. So they always kind of got you, you know what I mean? But there's just a lot of convenience to it, especially if, like, somebody's not there. Um, they can pay you. I was doing a while back, even, like, I was doing a delivery, and they were supposed to be there. Well, they forgot. And I kind of also, like, didn't text them when I was on my way. There's all these things, you protocol you should do. And I showed up, and I'm like knocking on the door at the house. Nobody's there. And I messaged the guy, and I'm thinking, oh, great, we're going to get stiffed. And he's like, and this stuff just happens. Right. And he said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He goes, can I pay you? Cause he already knew we could take Venmo. And he said, hey, can I just pay you and you leave the stuff, and it's like, yeah, what I mean? That's fine. So, but I didn't unload anything until it was like, you know, he paid, and it was like, all right, we're cool. And I don't know if you can do that. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, with a credit card, like, how you enter that in. And it's, unless you got what is that one called? I don't remember. I'm sure. I mean, there's always a way. You just got to figure out which way it goes. Mr. Rich does no Venmo, no Zelle, none for you. I was listening to another guy, and he claims, I take it with a little bit of caveat, right? Because we don't take American Express a lot. It sounds like you guys really don't either, right? So you can't really say it all the way, but his expression was like, you take any way a customer can pay. I agree to some, like I can see, I guess there's some benefits with like Apple Pay. It's a little bit more secure. Um, and these are just things that even this old man is going to have to like, there's just going to be ways that are going to come up that people are going to want to pay that, and as long as everybody's communicated and they understand, it's really not that big a deal, right? If you tell them right up from the get go, say, hey, look, if I come out here and do a service call, this is, how do you expect, it just, there's so many due diligence things that you have to do on your end to make sure that everything goes really smooth, right? And it all starts with this. It all starts with the phone. I mean, the secretary, yourself, it's all right there. And even what you do is you get a pad of paper or whatever and start carrying it with you and just start learning that thing religiously. You know what I mean? Just like, and then every time something gets burned on you, you know, keep the old pen with you, scribble on there. Well, I need to ask this now too. You know what I mean? Because I got burned once or twice or 5 times, and just keep that on your list, on your price sheet, whatever, write it up in the corner or keep it as a separate, like, hi, Mrs. Jones, I mean, I used to have this stuff all written out, like even how to ask. And then I had it all laid out, like I knew it was always 4 things. I think it was always 4 things. That's all I always remembered in my head. I need 4 things from the customer. I needed a name, a full name. I needed address. I need a telephone number. And what was the last one? I'm already forgetting. Maybe it was, how did you find us? It could have been, that was one of them. I remember. So it might've been 5. Um, but there was always a certain, like I always just said, okay, I need 4 things from them, name, address, phone number. How did you find us? You know what I mean? Because you're spending all this money, right? You want to know if it was a referral. Did they find a street sign? Did they find a sticker? Did they hear from you from a friend? And especially when you're just starting out, it's really helpful to just document that. It makes you feel good too, right? Because then you're going, all right, hey, my street signs are working. I'm going to invest a few more into those. Hey, my flyer in the mail worked, or we used to have a coupon book. That's something that does kind of stimulate you. We used to have a coupon book that used to come around. They don't do it anymore. The place went up, belly up, whatever, but you could get coupons. Another place, I never done it. Maybe one of you guys have, that I've always wanted to try it, but we just kind of grew, and it's like, now it's like we got more work than we got manpower. And but it was the table mats at restaurants. How many of you guys sit around? I stare at those things. You go to a restaurant and they got that table mat, right? That little, I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but you sit there and it's got all the businesses. And I don't know why. I don't know if I really ever used. I've taken screenshots, or not screenshots. I always say screenshot. I've taken pictures of them. Like I see like a tree service. I'm like, oh yeah, hey, one of the rentals or something. Well, this guy does power washing or something. You know, that was, I don't know if I never did it, so I can't say it was like, oh, it did really good or was a complete waste of money. But it's just something to, you know, whatever you can do. That's, you know, I don't like a lot of this newer stuff. I mean, I'm not trusting a lot of stuff. Like I know Google, like it's good to get reviews and stuff, but I don't trust this Google ad stuff. I've tried pushing on it before with certain things, and it seems like it doesn't produce. I mean, heck, even like through like Facebook, people are promoting things, and I'm getting stuff from like other states for like just whatever you could think of, and I'm like, why are they even advertising here? And I it just darn well they're not. It's just a matter of like they're trying to get clicks. They don't care how, and then they can semi tell you the truth that, oh, look, we got you, this many clicks. It must have been up to you. You just didn't answer the phone. or whatever. And oh, you're getting so many clicks, you're doing so good. Just pay us another $200 a month. It's fine. And I just don't like that. I always told like the phone guy, the phone book guy, every time I met with him every year, maybe I get a different person sometimes. I always told him, I said, look, I'd even tell him on the phone. I said, we can meet. I said, I'm going to tell you right now. I said, I'm not going to sign up for anything that day of. I said, you can give me the whole sales pitch. I said, but I'm going to go home. I said, I'm going to think about it for a day or two. And I said, then I'll make a move on it. Cause they drown you with so much. And they're just, well, isn't this good? Isn't this good? Isn't this good? This pen will save your life. It'll save everybody's. And you could just make $1,000,000, blah, blah, blah. It just, and you're like, what? By the time it's all, they go, all you got to do is sign right here. And all you're signing up to is $1,200 payment a month with no phone ringing. I can have big jobs cited if they are ready, but most jobs go to the shop. Schedule installs accordingly. Yes, that's a very good point, Tanner. We were running into that problem as well. And it still exists. I mean, it's just, what are you going to do? I mean, some of this, since the cough syndrome, these builders are just, I mean, they're just like, the first thing is like, get the garage doors ordered. Cause they're going to be, they'll still be 6 or 12, or might be 3 months, might be 6 months. We don't know, but get them coming. That is a very, and so something I'd kind of almost like to ask you, Tanner, is maybe you experience this, but this was always a problem for me. It still is. You know what I mean? Is if you get those doors, right? And this is a problem if you get them delivered. Once they're delivered, come on, guys, you know what I'm talking about. You get them delivered. What's the contractor want now? When are you gonna get them installed? When are you gonna get them installed? The garage doors are here. When are you gonna get them installed? Hey, I'm still like, might be like 2 weeks. I'm still on another job right now. Well, the doors are here. When are you gonna get them installed? You know what I mean? So I've had to actually, you're always kind of like looking to the future, and I've literally had to like go, the future don't look good, And so I go, I'm going to have those delivered against my, better judgment in a sense, I guess. Like, I don't want to, but I know how this contractors, I know the job site's going to, the doors are going to get moved 3 or 4 times. I cannot have that. And then who damaged them? Was it their workers? Was it off the truck? So there's a huge game to play in there. And that's just something you don't see when you don't do it for a living, and that's, kind of goes down to that rabbit hole where I'm always like, I kind of like more stationary things. You know what I mean? Like I've, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like I just, I like houses. I like, they just don't, like if there's a problem, I don't get threats. You know what I mean? Like, with the renter or something, the hot water tank goes, it's not, if you don't get somebody here in 10 minutes, I'm leaving. And I'm like, oh, good luck. Go ahead. When's the U-Haul truck going to be there? I don't know. It'll be here though. It's midnight. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not like, it's just not so, it's just so up and down. It just never fails. I mean, I've had doors come in. It's a blizzard out. I've been at, like I said, the job where I get them delivered and it turns out, the builder doesn't pay. It's like, how did this even happen? I was such a good doobie, such a good boy, and I was doing everybody such a good favor. The doors weren't going to get damaged, and then it's like all because I screwed it up basically because I didn't project it. I didn't do the right things. So it's yeah. Oh, what does this say? Oh, called tabletop values. Well, hell, I never heard it called that. I just learned something today. Thanks for that, Rich. Tabletop values. I'm gonna be sitting there next time and be like, do you look at your tabletop values? Wife's gonna go, huh? It's right in front of you. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like that tabletop values. So yes, the mass. Oh man, $25 a week. Dang, that don't seem bad. Hmm. I'm sure they got different prices. Obviously, you get the bigger one that's in the middle or something like that. You know, yeah, I just kind of like that old school stuff. I don't know why. I like physical things. This stuff is digital is just getting to be so crazy, man. Where it's I just can't believe I just can't trust it. And I just don't want to promote it for other people. It's like, if they're out there promoting this whole Angie's list and, or Angie's now, because they probably went through bankruptcy like every other darn company. And I just can't, man, I just can't believe people. I feel horrible, you know what I mean? Because you expect these. Um, so I signed up with another company. They're similar, right? And they still send me the leads, and the leads aren't even close. And I sit there and laugh. And I love that they still send it because they got my phone number punched in. But I mean, I was like right there, right? Because I just had that weird, like, oh my gosh, I got to create leads. And I talked about it for a few times back and forth with the wife. And I was like, yeah, like, let's just wait. And then it was like they were sending these leads. They won't give me all the information. They'll tell me like a name, a last, like the last letter or whatever, the first letter of the name, last name. And then it'll show like the area, it won't give me their address. And I look at it and I laugh. I go, oh my, I go, this is like an hour plus away. And I go, no, like these are horrible leads. Like they're spread out way too far. And I just like I said, when we were doing the home advisor one and we were, it was horrible. I mean, I could not figure it out. I mean, I was doing everything. As soon as we get the email, whatever. I mean, I would just start driving there right there. If I wasn't doing something else, because normally I was out kind of either running around like managing other guys and stuff. And I would drop what I'm doing. And I'd like call the secretary. I'm like, hey, I'm driving there right now. Right now. I was like, make sure you call them, tell them, whatever, blah, 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 and it's like, I'd like literally pull in their driveway. I'm like 10 minutes away. And I'd be like, what how's my, how in the hell is my competition here? What the, I just so irritated. And it's like, or it was like, I'd get there and I'd see the competition drive by and it was kind of like, I got this one. I don't know how. And it was like almost like they rotated it. It was like they ping them off. We'll do like a 20-minute ping, and then it's like uh ooh, movie theater for ads. That's a good one too. My old business partner, he mentioned this. This is man, this is back in like probably like '08, '09. And he said, we were talking about it one day because we were just starting to kind of get the GPS and stuffs going, Garmin's. And well, no, I think we were going onto our phones by then because our phones are being more updated, right? We're using the Google Maps. And he would tell me sometimes, he said, man, he goes, why does Google want me to go this way? He goes, obviously it's faster and quicker to go this way. And we always shoot the crap. It's just nothing you really ever think about. Anyways, we're driving along the one day and he says, he goes, what if Google is routing you? He says, in a way for you to see these businesses, because he's like, it wants me to go down this busy road. And he's like, there's a back road right here that's way quicker, no stops, whatever. And I said, that's kind of a good valid point. I said, I never thought about it that way. But he said, what if they're, because if you think about it, right, what if these businesses, especially nowadays, I mean, we're talking from 2009 to now. I mean, it's huge. But what if these businesses were paying, right, Google for reviews or they're pushing ads, right? And Google was to try to navigate you past their business, maybe to get their business. Maybe it's a hot dog place, maybe it's a car wash, maybe, what I'm saying? So you never know what this stuff is trying to 100% do. So like for me always, like I always, anytime I'm doing somewhat local, on maps or something, I'm always zooming out and kind of looking at it going, well, this makes sense, or this is stupid. I already know kind of the roads. I just don't know, I don't want to think about it. And sometimes for the beginners, I still, I would always recommend punching the address in, because I've made the mistakes. I don't want to say a lot, but enough that I've had it where I didn't know I had the road neither wrong, spelled a couple letters different or something. It sounded close. And I was like, oh, I know where that's at. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I literally drove there and I was like, the address is not lining up. And then you call the customer and they're like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm on the road. I'm like, the road's not, and they're like, you're not even on the right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know how embarrassing that is. So I always tell myself, I've never preached it really to anybody else except for you guys. So this is top secret. But I always punch it in. I always just punch it in, even though if it's running in the background, I don't want to listen to it. I at least got it where I can kind of glance at it where I'm like, it's not going, turn around, turn around. And I'm going, why is it telling me to turn around? Well, geez, I got the wrong zip code or something. Not to say the customer can't give you the wrong address, but the worst one I remember, now I think of it, um, it was because I got a text message. And I remember I thought it was the lady that always has gate problems. And I don't know why. But so she said, there was going to be something, there was going to be a nanny. That's what it was. There was going to be a nanny at the house. And I'm like, oh, okay, not a problem. And she's like, the nanny can show you or something, right? Oh, that's what it was. They have the gates I worked on, but they also have, I've worked on her garage door. And she's a very, they're very successful, whatever, they're high end. Her husband's a doctor, all this stuff. They live up on a hill, blah, blah, blah. And it's in a little development. And I remember I literally drive there. I go through the gate because I know the code, right? Because I work on the gate all the time. I go up this steep driveway, super steep. I mean, I gotta take a video for you guys sometime on it because it's crazy that somebody even thinks that's a driveway in Michigan. And anyways, I pull up there, right? I pull up and I'm like, man, there's like no cars here. Mm. So I go up to the front door. I knock on the door. I don't hear anybody. The house looks lifeless. And I'm like, oh, maybe she had to leave or something. I don't know. So I go over to the garage door. I lift on the garage door. The garage door don't lift. I go to the side door. The side door is not unlocked. And I'm like, man, I'll be darned if I go through their house. Like, I'm not going through the house. Like, it's like, I could go in and I got to go through a kitchen and I got to go through like a hallway. Like, like that ain't going to happen. So I text the person and I said, hey, I don't think your nanny's, is the nanny home or something like that? And she's like, yeah. She's like, are you sure you're at the right place? And I'm like, so I start scrolling through the message, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this ain't the right person because I didn't save on my phone. I just see a number and the number looks similar to the other person. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's what I get. Like, I think she even gave me an address, right? And it was up by the same area. And I'm like, oh, I'm like so embarrassed. Like, I'm like, I hope they don't have like a security system. And like, I'm waiting for the lady that really owns the house to like message me and be like, did you stop at my house? Like, and I'm like, yeah. And I was trying to like open your service door and try to get in your garage door. And, like, yeah, that was me. I mean, she never said nothing. So then I went to the worst part was because now I'm throwing, right? I'm embarrassed. I feel thrown off. I go into this like subdivision. Well, come to find out, the lady that's messaging me, right? She still gave me her own wrong address. The numbers are off. So I'm driving around this subdivision, just driving and like I'm like, that's the number. That's one off. What the must be? It's got to be one of the. There's like some lady walking the dog. Like this is high end. You know what I mean? Like she's. And I'm like, she's gonna call the cops on me because I think I was driving at the time. I was driving an unmarked vehicle, and I thought, I don't blame this lady. I'm literally gonna have to stop and ask her, be like, like, do you know where this address is? Like, I'm not just some creep like checking you out and just, like I'm looking for an address. So I finally messaged her again, and she's like, it's across. Oh my gosh, I gave you the wrong address, and I'm like, you have no idea what I've been through. So I finally found the right house, but So it's just one of those things. At least I would have been one more step closer if I would have punched it in the first time, even though it was still one number off. But that's the luxuries that we get of, you know, garage doors. And that's why sometimes I expressed to you guys about the frustrations, all the time spent because I didn't get paid. I mean, I sold a job. Of course, we know her from other jobs. She got a little bit of a discount, and she tried fixing the opener herself. There's a video of it actually, and it was a nightmare. And so, um, it wasn't a very lucrative job. And by the time you might factor in all that, it might have been a broke even, maybe made 5%, 10%. I don't know. Wasn't much. So it's just it's one of those things. It happens to the best of us. It's just how it goes. So I think I'm gonna jump off here unless you guys got any other questions. Like I said, you can always email me. You can always comment too. Like I said, I don't know if I get the live ones though. If you do it on this, I get it on other videos because I always get the ones on the Milwaukee. I like tantalizing them. I don't tantalize them, but they'll tell me some long story about this guy, blah, blah, and I'm like, hey, you didn't have to watch the video, But I appreciate everyone that's here. So what's this? I didn't see Tanner sitting in. Oh yeah, this is 1.5. Doors are paying for the general. What does it say? Did I miss this, Tanner? I have a bus barn sitting in my shop. Oh man, going on 1.5 years. Doors are paid for, and the general is paying me storage fee. Wow. Wow. Wow, that's not bad, man. Mr. Sky Overhead. If I don't get to say goodbye to you. It's funny. I was going to tell you, Tanner. I don't know. You probably never seen maybe you've seen the shop, maybe not. I got a roll up door in the front, right? And it's like, it's a little overkill. Let's just say that, right? I got a rolling steel door on the front of the shop, but there's a reason for that. And it's a really weird one. So I got to tell a story, right? It's nighttime. I had a contractor, kind of a new contractor to us, that hired us to do a interior roll-up door, rolling steel. I went out there or whatever. They were going to cut it in. So they were just like, we're going to tell you the dimensions and we're going to make it to that size. Oh, okay. So we ordered this rolling steel door. And I remember it was weird because a little bit of time went on, right? The door comes in. And also we get this, I think we got almost like a half down check because we weren't doing really much half down, right? We were always doing we trust you. You know what I mean? Like we don't need the money. We're a big company. And so anyways, all of a sudden this check came in and I'm like, oh, like they paid half. So I remember I called the company and I said, hey, you guys sent a check? Oh yeah, they probably got a draw or something. So they paid you. No big deal. No big deal. Okay, that's fine. Well, that's cool. Because basically now, the door's paid for. And then a little bit later goes on, right? And they still haven't, contacted us, maybe another month or something. And another check comes in. And I'm thinking, whoa, like now they paid us like in full. Like this whole door is paid for, material wise and labor wise. Like, I mean, and we never installed it. It's been sitting in the back of my little garage back at my house. And it's kind of a pain because we don't have much room. So I called them. I said, hey, I don't know. Like my brain went into different like worlds, right? I kept thinking, I think somebody else, like they were confused. Like there was maybe two generals or something. And I was thinking they must have like paid another, cause they used to use our one of our competition. I think the competition did it. And, like they screwed up. And I called the guys like, hey, I was like, I don't know if you, and he goes, oh, no, we are getting close to cutting that in. And he's like, it was just probably the secretary issued it, cause, and I'm thinking, well, geez, man, you guys are, I mean, you're almost like a great customer, because I mean, you paid for the whole thing in full. I mean, I never had anybody ever do this. And so I remember, now, like I said, another, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 months, 6 months goes by and it's like, all right, well, I mean, like this door is becoming like, I remember I took it and I literally, I bought a storage unit and I put it in the storage unit. And then I even had it outside at one point at my house before I took it to the storage unit and I had it under a tarp. Right. And now it's, tarp starting to shred, stuff like that. it's like leaves are getting underneath stuff. It's like, man, this thing is going to be looking like trash. So that's why I got the storage unit. And it's a heavy rolling steel. I mean, it's not like I can move this thing around by myself. So finally, I'm like irritated. Like I finally, I'm like, hey, I'm like, I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I said, like, do you want me to drop this? Like, I can bring it right now because like we were moving it again. I think I was getting rid of the storage unit or something. I said, I can like literally bring it to you. Right? Oh no, 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 no. And they got a pretty decent warehouse where they're, actually, like next week we were actually just, and I'm like, really? Like, I mean, that's all I keep hearing is like next week, like this thing never manifest. So I remember I finally was like, I'm done. Like I've called you guys numerous of times. I'm done. Like if you don't call me again, like I'm not calling you. Like you guys paid me for it. So guess what happened? That door sat for another probably year. And I remember I installed it and I remember business partner time. He's like, what are you gonna do? He says, when they call you and they want it. And I said, hell, I said, we're just going to order another one. I said, and then they'll just have to wait for that next one to come in. Cause I said, this one ain't going to be no good. I said, cause it's going to be called used. So we ended up, that's why I got a rolling steel at the shop. I made the jam to the right size. So it was like, I said, hell, I said, I never had. I said, well, this one's paid for. I said, it's, customer paid for the material and customer paid to install. And guess what? I don't know what it's been now, 12 years, whatever. I still never called. But we've also never done no work for them either. So I don't know. Like it was just kind of a weird one off. Like they couldn't find somebody. And far as I know, because I talked to somebody, I said, hey, I said, you work at that building? Yeah. I said, were you guys going to put a door in? He goes, yeah. He goes, we were. He says, but they never cut it in. I'm like, I guess it just goes to show you we got whatever, man. It just got pushed off. But I know the pain. And that's something that a lot of guys don't see. Um, and so it's kind of good that you brought it up. You know what I mean? Because like if you do broken springs, you do the smaller stuff, there's a good little chunk of profit in there, and you don't have to deal with all this like a lot of this like kind of like this overhead stuff. You know what I mean? Because doors take up a lot of room, and they just they can get damaged. You got, that's like us with the whole when the cough syndrome was going on. We turned into like a storage unit, and I'm like, whoa, we got all this material right now. And it's like you can't even move in the shop. And it's like if this place catches on fire, or it was it was getting to be a madhouse. It was like it just I understand the pain. So and then like you said, these builders are so programmed, and then it's like you don't even have the time to go back and be like, well, can you tell me what your scope of the work is? Like when you're planning on building this, well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. We gotta get them coming. So it just becomes, sometimes it can be a real big headache. And, you want to be there for your, especially your commercial guys and stuff like that. You want to have this stuff ready, but golly, man, when the stuff's been sitting, and it's not like sitting in theirs, and then you don't even know if you want to let it sit at their location or on the job site because it's going to get moved. And you know how it is. They got the general grunt guys that they don't care about nothing, right? They're just manual labor. They're slinging stuff around. So, but anywho, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Makes me feel not so crazy. If you got any questions, like I said, email me, Daveadubson at gmail.com. Otherwise, shoot comments, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys later. Enjoy. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.